Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC and welcome to Saudi Arabia. Yes, we are racing in Jeddah. While the real world of Formula One has had to shy away from the Middle East for obvious reasons and political tensions that we're not going to explain because we are not qualified to, we can very luckily race at this tremendous circuit on the sim without fear of anything like that. I am joined today not by my usual partner in crime, Ross McIntyre, but instead by Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic making his Super League debut today. Lorenzo, how does it feel to be here?
It feels odd, but it feels nice. Thank you for introducing me, Caitlin. But yeah, as you mentioned, Ross not here today, as he said himself, he was stuck working with professionals. But yeah, hopefully I do a well enough job filling in for him. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this Super League round pans out.
Lorenzo, a slightly more important question. Are we actually pronouncing your surname right? Eterovic-Funcic?
I can cope with it for today, you know. I can cope with it.
You can cope with this? How would you pronounce it?
Eterovic-Funcic.
Okay, like Eterovic-Funcic. Okay. So
Close
we're...
enough.
Yeah, close enough. All right. I do apologise about that, but yes. We are also joined, of course, by the regular broadcast director, Remco de Zeeuw, who does such a good job that he doesn't even have to take a day out to make us remember how much we miss him. So thank you to Remco for always being here. As you can see, we're just getting warmed up and ready for the start of the round. Quite a long track here at Jeddah, quite a difficult one as well. The walls are right there and waiting to pounce. And we do actually have an onboard lap provided to us by a certain Dylan Fisher to show you the tight, twisty confines of the Jeddah Corniche circuit.
Welcome everyone, and today I'm going to take you up on the Jeddah Corniche circuit. So before turn 1, we're going to be hitting around 325 km an hour before braking at the 100 meter board. You want to climb all over these apex curbs to give yourself as much room on the exit as possible. Now going up with turn 4, probably the most difficult corner on the track. Very quick flick to the left, followed by a quick right. Turn 6 and 7, double apex lefts, followed by 2 right hand corners. Be careful of the entry curb, otherwise you'll bottom out, and same for the exit, otherwise you'll be doing your best Mick Schumacher impression. Now coming up to turn 13, you want to be braking at the 50 meter board, use all the camber to your advantage. The traction is very difficult on exit. Now to this right hander, you want to take the shortest line possible, followed by a very quick right left flick. Once again 50 meter board, very tricky on the tyres, you probably see a lot of people sliding around late on in their stints. Now coming out that right left flick, once again the shortest line possible through all these kinks, opening the DRS. Coming up is a very quick left right chicane, be careful not to hit the inside wall or run too wide, it's important to use the curb on exit. And now we open the DRS again for the run down to the last corner. Got plenty of time to think about it, very easy to make a mistake. We're only braking at the 100 meter board, easy to lock up a front or a rear tyre. And coming out the last corner, we wait to open the DRS, and then that will be a lap of the Jeddah Corniche circuit.
Fantastic. Thank you to Dylan for providing us with that. Dylan Fisher unfortunately had quite a bad round last time out. He got involved in an incident, but he does actually have his regular teammate back today. Yannick Bock, who had to miss the last race, has stepped back into that seat. Norbert Jakob is also back after missing a round. The driver who stepped in for him last time out, Alex Lahoe, is of course no longer in that seat, but it doesn't matter because Lahoe has found himself another seat on the grid. He's going to be racing today in the place of Danny van der Neert, and he is going to be racing for, as I very quickly try to find out which team that is, Red Archer Virtual Racing Team, of course it is. So Alex Lahoe will be racing for Red Archer today alongside Jeffrey Fournier in that seat. A few more changes to talk about as well. We actually have a driver debut here today, as you see Alex Lahoe going around and using all of the limits of the track. That's good to see. We do actually have a driver debut today. Juho Sopanen is going to be racing today for the very first time in Super League, and that's quite something because he's never even done a super. No, he has done Super Light start, but he's never done a Super League start before. And until this season, he'd never done anything higher up than Formula Sprint 1. So Juho Soppanen making his debut today, and that is for Lion GP, replacing Thiago Melo, who is usually in that seat. The last major driver change that we have to talk to you about is at THR, the team that moved to the very top of the standings at the end of the last race. THR, of course, usually has the oh-so-reliable pairing of Jarl Tyen and Tom Stevens, the best pairing in a lot of people's eyes in GPVWC Super League, who have won so many back-to-back world championships. But this year, or this particular race, my apologies, Tom Stevens is taking it out. He's going to be focusing on his uni work for a little while, and so in his place is Mateusz Majka, the blisteringly fast Mateusz Majka, making only his second start in GPVWC Super League. He started a race for Fraser Tartan Racing, the junior team of THR, at the end of last season. That was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and he failed to finish that one. So hopefully, for Mateusz Majka's sake, he can do a little bit better today and get it to the flag. But Lorenzo, why would he not be able to? Mateusz Majka currently third position in Super Lights, and he also finished third just 2 days ago in the Super Lights race.
He did indeed. I weren't able to follow that round, unfortunately, in Super Lights. I had other commitments at the moment, but yeah, Mateusz Majka, obviously FS1 champion last season and FS2 champion the season before that, so he's continuing his good streak of results all the way up into Super Lights. I see no reason as to why he couldn't be able to perform equally as well in Super League today as well. It's just a question of whether everything will go right for him and whether the strategy will go as planned for him as well.
Exactly right, but yeah, a safe pair of hands who clearly knows this track quite well. Whoa, as Jarl Tyen has an accident. But that's okay, because we're just coming to the end of the practice session, and we're not yet in the warm-up when things really start to count. Yes, so that's all of the driver changes for this round. We don't actually have that much to update you on in the form of penalties. Unfortunately, we did have a penalty at the end of the last race. Mark Schluter, who got involved in an incident with Owen McGorgy, where Schluter was coming out of the pits, McGorgy was on the track, and they just kind of converged at turn 1. That was seen by the stewards as Mark's fault, which is fair enough because it's the responsibility of the car returning from the pit lane to the track to return safely and to slot into the traffic. So Mark ended up being given a 20-second time penalty for that, which dropped him from 6th place in the race down to 13th. So in terms of the championship, that now means that Loic Mounier leads it by 15 points over Jan Grangfist. Jan, of course, had a terrible round, only finishing 11th with quite an old engine, which is why he struggled so much. Tom Stevens is third in the championship, although of course is going to have to miss today, unfortunately. And you can see there, Carlos Martin, just 1 point back, is in the best position to benefit from that, although he also has a slightly old engine today. Sergio Fletcher is P5 in the championship, then it's Jarl Tyen and Alessandro Maggio, and those two Valley Esports drivers there, a big fat 0 on the last round, dropping them from right near the top of the standings to the middle of the first page. So they're still in a good position, but not quite as good as they were before. Jose Soriano is 8th after scoring 11 points last time out. Owen McGorgy is in 9th position. We're expecting him to shoot up the order any time now because we know he's capable of more. And the always consistent, always quick Maciej Munich is 10th in the standings. We now have a green light for qualifying, so we can see one of the True North cars heading out onto the track. I believe that's Norbert Jakab, based on the Hungarian flag on the back of his car. And indeed it is Norbert Jakab who missed the last Grand Prix in Bahrain, so we'll see what he can do here. But while he missed the last Grand Prix in Bahrain, he did oh so well at the Japanese Grand Prix 4 weeks ago, where he finished 5th position, his best result in Super League to this day. So Norbert, despite that week off, is still on, or despite those 2 weeks off I guess, is still on very, very good form and has a lot of momentum to carry into this round. And in fact, if our championship graphic continued a little bit longer, you would have seen Norbert himself a little bit further back. I've just realised actually, I think our championship graphic might be slightly out of date maybe, or something's awry, because it's not the same as the one that I have on the spreadsheet, which shows Fletcher 5th, followed by Tyan, Maggio, Soriano, Winnick and Frelick, the top 10. So a little bit of a discrepancy there, and I guess we have to wait and see exactly who's in what position there. But yeah, in terms of the teams, just to quickly wrap it off, THR leads that by 2 points over Spark, and then it's Holland Racing Team, Valley Esports and Super Venturi, the top 5, although Super Venturi yet to score with both cars in a race, as in fact are Spark. So we've seen the onboard lap from Dylan Fisher, which we saw earlier on. We're now going to see a lap from Norbert Jakob as he goes around the first sector of the course. Lorenzo, this is quite a circuit, isn't it? It's very, very difficult.
It is indeed. I can tell from experience, obviously having, currently owning a team in Formula Sprint 1, that the harder compound of tires seems to be a bit weaker around this track. I remember during the FS1 race, the hards took quite a long time to properly warm up anywhere outside of Sector 1 really, so it would be interesting to see whether that plays out in SL1 today as well. Obviously, the compounds chosen for today, C4 down through to C2, so it's the medium, the medium hardness, if you could say so, of the rubber. So again, we'll be interested to see what strategies the drivers will be going for and what tires everyone will be going for at the start as well.
Yeah, in terms of strategy, we're expecting drivers to potentially go for 2 stops today. So medium tyres, probably the best ones to start on, potentially. Obviously, the drivers all have the option to start on the soft tyres as well, if they feel that is necessary. But yes, I'm expecting to see drivers starting on mediums, and most of them doing two-stop strategies. We've heard that the hard tyres are really not very good, so we're not going to be seeing many drivers on the hard tyres, except for those going for very bold stints. True North has had a good session here so far. Norbert Jakob and Mark Schluter currently first and second in the order, followed by Mathieu Winnick in third position. But we're still very, very early, of course. We're expecting to see the times really tumble towards the end, and that's when we see the times start to count. Sven Schubert here also had to miss the last Grand Prix. He was replaced by Aaron Vasquez, just as he was back in Australia. But he is back now, but bails out of his first flying lap, so he comes into the pits and will set up for another run. Xavi Rose in the Adonis engineering car has been one of the breakthroughs this season in terms of pace, but is still yet to get actually no, he did get his first top 10 last time out, didn't he? He was 9th position in Bahrain, but to be honest, he's had the pace for way better than that, and seeing him 17th position in the standings at this early stage does not really sum up exactly the kind of speed that we've seen from him. But then again, you've got to race well as well as qualify well, but for the time being, you're seeing Xavi Rose qualifying well again. He's currently in 7th position, Lorenzo.
He is indeed, but I do question whether he'll be able to stay up there. I do think he'll be able to secure a top 15 qualifying finish, but I think it'll be very, very tough to stay in that top 10. Although again, I think Xavi Rose definitely does have the quality to do that. But as Maurice Kropp slams into the wall there, exiting the final chicane, the little left-right flick, which is going to be a point of contention, I think, in this round, as it was in the rounds lower down in the career ladder. There have been very heavy discussions regarding track limits in Jeddah. I know that there have been very heavy debates regarding the FS2 round, so I'm not saying that I'm expecting many debates regarding track limits in Super League, but equally enough, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some, as Owen McGorgy there, going through Sector 1, quite wobbly in the rear, Caitlin.
Little bit twitchy. Sometimes you have to, well, that's very twitchy actually, as Owen goes over the curb. Sometimes you have to set the car up a little twitchy around here just to get the car turned in for corners like this one. But obviously, with a circuit with walls so close, you don't want to really risk anything too much. You can see him using all of the track and more there going over the curb, and the rule is generally that if you're on the curb with any part of your car, especially 2 wheels, then when you are within the limits. I remember in Formula Sprint 2 last year really abusing those track limits because of the way that the rules are worded. And McGorgy there touching the wall on the inside of the corner, and this will not be a valid lap after that one. To be honest, that's probably a slower way around the corner anyway, so he won't mind too much about that. Alex Lahoe now in the red Archer Virtual Racing Team car. It's going to be a little bit confusing seeing him in his second different team in 2 races, but we'll see how he does. He was complaining of internet issues a few minutes ago, so hopefully he's got those sorted out. Sometimes you see drivers having internet issues at the night races because of the way that the lighting works. I tell you what though, very good lap from Alex Lahoe, 7th position as we stand, with 8.5 minutes remaining in the session, Lorenzo.
Indeed, very good from Alex Lahoe, but it is to be expected from someone like him to be qualifying very high up, even...
And Maggio.
Oh well, Maggio as well, going pole position. Sven Schubert routing the final corner as well at the moment, although he's not going into the pit lane, he's finishing the lap, and he's going to be good enough for P16 only. But then again, there's just under 8 minutes left in qualifying. I do think that Schubert can improve on that, Caitlin.
Yeah, I think so too. In fact, he hasn't actually set a... well, no, he has. Sorry, I'm looking at his teammate Moritz Kropp, who's yet to set a flying lap. Jarl Tyen here set a purple first sector. His second sector wasn't great, and that may have been track limits there going through the chicane. So we'll see if he actually completes this one. But yes, Jarl Tyen going well. He's done a lot better in qualifying this year than he did last year, which is to be expected considering last year he occasionally deliberately qualified far down the grid to benefit from the way the tyre rules were then. He is in fact going to come back into the pits. I'm not sure that lap would have counted anyway. And here's Norbert Jakob with another purple first sector, and he stays out, keeps the lap going. Let's see if he improves. Norbert slightly down. He's about 6/10 down on his previous lap. It's about 7/10 down on the leader, so still very close up there. And Loic Meunier goes to the top. Right as Schluter put himself back at the back in 3rd place, Meunier has gone and demoted him and gone 1st overall. Now Mathieu Winnick coming to the line. This looks brilliant, and across the line he goes. Mathieu Winnick P1 with exactly the same lap as Loic Meunier. This is very close for pole position here. Geoffrey Fournier is going to be a little way behind that. Maybe, yep, 19th position as we stand. But yes, Mathieu Winnick and Loic Meunier right at the top of the times. Winnick's one must have been slightly quicker. It's showing up as the same time even on race view. I'd have thought that Meunier's time would have been P1 considering he set that lap first. But whatever the case, it's Winnick showing as first, followed by Meunier, Maggio, Jakob and Schluter. Whoa, as Soppinen touches the inside wall there on his debut in the Lion GP car. And Lorenzo, one thing I'm noticing is that we've got quite a few lesser experienced drivers up the front there. Valet Esports, of course, in just their 2nd season in Super League, versus True North in just their 1st season.
Well, I wouldn't say that the amount of seasons those 4 have had in Super League doesn't mean they're any less experienced than the drivers in front or behind them who had more years of experience in Super League. I think all 4 drivers in there are amazing drivers in their own right, and are, I think, unsurprisingly where they are currently in qualifying. But again, just under 5.5 minutes left in qualifying. I do wonder whether they'll stay where they are currently. We've seen Mathieu Mlinek and Loic Meunier pop up, well, I wouldn't say really out of nowhere, but up until they set the lap times that they have, they were, I think, about 2 or 3 tenths behind the Valet and True North pairings. So again, Maggio, Jakob, Schluter, Fletcher, all amazing drivers, and unsurprising where they are in qualifying. But can they improve on what they've already set, or are there people behind them who are able to improve on what they've already set and beat them to those top 5 positions?
We shall have to see. There's still plenty of time left to go in this session. You can even do two different attempts at laps in this time. It is worth noting that it's a relatively long circuit, 1 minute 30, but also in terms of the actual distance you cover, it's quite significant here. I believe it's the 2nd shortest track on the calendar behind Spa-Francorchamps, which, oh yes, we are still going to Spa-Francorchamps this year, thank goodness for that. Eros Masculi now on a flying lap. It's been a little bit of an up and down season for Eros so far. Doesn't quite have the pace of some of his rivals just yet, but he's consistent, and I think he's going to get some good points soon. If there's any track where I think Eros would actually excel, it would be somewhere like Jeddah, where it's up to the experienced drivers with cool heads to keep it cool and to bring home those points. But a good qualifying position always helps with that sort of thing. So over the curbs he goes, and Alessandro Maggio goes P1 yet again. Maggio with a 1, but he's the first driver to do it in under 90 seconds. Maggio first, followed by Munich, Munier, Jakob and Schluter. What a lap there from the Valley Esports driver, who we always know to be a bit of a qualifying merchant. Masculi's second sector time is down, I'm afraid, even on his own personal best, and that looked a little twitchy through that sector, so I don't believe that we're going to get an improvement from Eros this time around. But yes, where Maggio really made up his time there, sorry for interrupting, but where Maggio really really made up his time there was on the run out through the final few corners and then up to the line. Maggio there gained about a 10th over Munich in the final 2 sectors combined. Munich's first sector was still quicker, so Maggio there not gaining in the more kind of stop-start nature of the first few corners. He's building it up as the lap goes on.
He is. It seems Jan Granqvist now going through sector 3. I do wonder, he's currently in P13 with 2.5 minutes to go, and as we can see on the left hand side through the standings graphics, neither of the top esports drivers have set a lap time in qualifying yet. Owen McGorgy and Shimon Frelick still without a lap time. Owen out on track, Shimon though not out on track, so as Jan Granqvist goes P4, I'm sure that the top esports pairing is wondering whether they're leaving it too late in the session to try and get a good lap time.
Lucas Murno, rear wing open, up to the line. He's currently P15, goes P14. This would be a good qualifying from the Lion GP driver. Owen McGorgy now coming out the final corner. Now he's one of the best qualifiers in the pack, so expect him to be well inside the top 10. He comes up to the line. He'll just about get enough time for another lap if he has the energy to go back to back. And he goes P10, so I expected him to be well inside the top 10. He's just about inside it as we speak. And Dylan Fisher, I think, is gearing up for one more flying lap now. You can see him taking a really tight exit to the corner, really wide entry to try to give himself the maximum run, maximum overspeed down the start-finish straight onto his flying lap. He's currently P14 in the session, just behind his teammate actually, with pretty much exactly the same time. And he goes through the first couple of corners. We've already seen an onboard lap from Dylan Fisher today, and now we're seeing it from the third person point of view as well. Although this, of course, is in real time, a lot more pressure on him now as he goes through those fast flowing flicks right and left. That's where Mick Schumacher had his big accident back in 2022. Fisher weathers the storm and gets through it. Shimon Frelick, by the way, is also on a lap, so it looks like at least every one of our drivers should. Oh, into the wall goes Dylan Fisher, and that is a big crash, so he will no longer be improving in this session, I'm afraid to say. I'm going to check race view, see if I can spot any improvements. Carlos Martin seems to be improving. Doesn't look like a competitive lap for pole, but he should move himself inside the top 10 if he can keep it up. Maybe as high up as 5th or 6th, challenging the True North drivers. He comes out of the final corner and up towards the line. Opens the DRS, or will do as soon as he crosses the DRS activation line, which is there. And goes across the line. Is it an improvement? Goes P8. Not bad at all. I'm not seeing any purple sectors. I'm not sure that we're going to get any improvements unless drivers have left it really late to start this last lap, which definitely has its strategic merits to it. Munich's first sector once again has not been the fastest of all. Munich loses about a 10th to some of his rivals in that first sector alone. Tomasz Vok here, currently P25, trying to springboard his way up the order as well. I'm also watching Shimon Frelick's lap, which is about the same as, well, actually, no, I don't think he's going to be in the top 10 with that. He'll try. Maggio's first sector is really good. Alessandro Maggio might be about to extend his lead even more in this session. Loic Meunier's first sector is good as well, but he's about a tenth and a half down on Maggio. So I think if anyone's going to set a blistering lap here, it's Alessandro Maggio, but he may not even need to because no one else is really improving at this point in time. Jose Soriano goes up to 12th. Maggio has just one more corner to go on this lap before setting what I think is going to be the pole position time. Out of the final corner he comes, up to the line, rear wing open. And now we see what the time is from Alessandro Maggio. This is definitely going to be an improvement. Whoa! And it's a 1:29.947, which he celebrates, and so he should. We're watching some more times just in case. Sergio Fletcher does not improve. Mark Schluter, I don't think he's going to improve as well. Alessandro Maggio takes another pole position in GPWC Super League. I think that's his 4th now. He's definitely a qualifying merchant, and I've long said it's only a matter of time before he gets a race victory. Could it be today, now that he's got that fresh engine back in his car? Let's take a look at how they finished that qualifying session. We have Alessandro Maggio P1, followed by Mathieu Winnick and Loic Meunier, who set pretty much exactly at the same time. Then it's Jan Grangfist P4, Norbert Jakob and Mark Schluter, the True North drivers, doing a truly, I'm trying to think of a pun, but it's not working, a truly wonderful performance there, P5 and P6. Sergio Fletcher P7, then it's Carlos Martin P8, then Jarl Tyen and Alex Lahoe. Alex Lahoe doing well there on a substitute appearance. Following them, we have Owen McGorgy, Jose Soriano, Xavi Rose, Yannick Bock, Dylan Fisher, Lucas Murno, Sven Schubert, Philip Puschke, Shimon Frelich, and Mateusz Majka. Majka also standing in today in that THR car. And then it's Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Moritz Kropp, Jeffrey Fournier, Tomasz Wok, Oscar Soltero, Aris Masculi, Tom van der Voort, and the debutant Juho Soppinen rounding out the grid. Fantastic stuff. So this is the way that they're going to line up for the Grand Prix. I think it's going to be an exciting one. It usually is, and if you want to get more involved in GPWC, you can always have a look at our broadcast team and vacancies that we have here. Here's a little package that we put together to celebrate our broadcast team for this year.
Inside a place of... On the next Kelty seat, the coffee beanery, Tyrek.
Flat out. Oh no! Oh no! Who's round? It's Magnussen. Oh, it's going to be a touch moment. It's in the barrier. Oh, they spun. Oh, this is carnage.
And Menocon's going to win.
God.
It's a double pass. Could they take each other off? They don't. And flag slide. It's a victory for the Tuties. They touch. They're now. Oh no!
Soriano's gone around and met the wall. Mitchell will go through. Does it go uphill into turn 4? Oh, round the outside. What a fabulous move.
Frelich will use all of his as well. Here he comes. He makes a move. They touch. They run wide. And Munio's going to get it. We're going 3 wide. Look at
Sing.
contact. Oh my goodness. The Tyen has lost a wheel.
Time's out.
The dramatic race that we were teeing up the entire time has come to an end. Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC. Once again we are here with Super League for the 3rd time this year, and for the first time this year of course we're at the Bahrain International Circuit. So we await the lights, the 5 red lights that you see on the right hand side of the screen. When they go out, we will be underway for 57 laps of racing here at the Sakir International Circuit in Bahrain. We await them, we're still waiting, we can't really see them, so it could start at any second. And let's see if Meunier can cover off Fischer going into turn 1. Away they go now. Meunier does lead away. There's a yellow flag, I hope nobody stalled at the back there. Watch for Tom Stevens coming through the middle now. Does Stevens found a gap? He goes to the outside into turn 1 and gathers it up and keeps it on the inside actually of Dylan Fisher, who will get the run up towards the top of the hill. And Jarl Tyen is in 11th position. Now you see the tyres that the drivers are starting on as well. Nobody starting on the hard tyres, that's interesting.
Carlos Martin and Mark Schluter go side by side and wheel to wheel. Martin on the soft, and they do bang rubber on the way up the second straight into turn number 4. Martin with the inside. It's not a given, but he does get it done unless Schluter gets the switchback, which he will try to do. Martin gets a bit squirrely, and they're still side by side, still banging wheels, and this is as tight as you like between two very experienced drivers. Martin gets it slightly sideways again. Schluter off the road. Now there's contact. Schluter has to get out of it as he nearly drops the car, and he'll lose a position to Javi Rose as well. Where you're dropping downhill, you're braking while turning, so easy to lock up the inside front as all of the weight gets thrown to the outside of the car. Vasquez with a late dive after it looked like Pushka tried to pull the dummy, but he's got it well wrong. Nearly drops it with a half spin, and he'll drop down 1-2 places there into 18th as Minette gets through.
And Danny van der Neert will not be bringing one home today, Ross. And we're going to see a replay of it. He's going down into turn 1, and well, it's a few corners from. Oh, he's going to lose it through turn 2, isn't he? Sometimes you just get a little bit of a kick of power as you go over the curb. And it really depends on where you are, who you've got around you,
Whoa.
and how many wings you've got left on your car, because Thiago Melo will not be going any further than that. And into the pits comes Carlos Martin. So we were anticipating it. We didn't know exactly when it would be. The soft tyres can run a little while into the race, and I expected if he'd wanted to, Martin could have kept going for a few laps longer. A lot of pit stops taking place now. Stevens, Frelick, Fischer, Fournier, Grangfist and Pushke all in the pits. And I think it's well and truly evident that the first pit window has begun.
Yeah, so all changed there as Mounier now in from the race lead.
And who finished well inside the top 10 last time out, has now retired from the race here at Bahrain. And there's somebody coming out of the pits. Is that related to what we're about to see? Oh, it is. There's contact there, and is that Schluter? So that we can see exactly what happened. And this is shades of Esteban Gutierrez and Pastor Maldonado when Gutierrez went for that massive flip in 2014. Gets a big twitch out of the final corner though, but still gets to open the DRS, which will tow him closer to Frelick. He may be using push to pass as well. These drivers do have a certain amount of push to pass that they can use and he goes up the inside. He takes a look and nearly has to budge Frelick out the way. Frelick does get the traction on the exit. Up the hill they go once again. They've got Carlos Martin directly ahead of them, so Frelick also gets the DRS. Stevens takes a look to the left. They touch a little bit. Whoa, Frelick slides wide into the side of Stevens' car. They keep rubbing on the exit, and Stevens does go through into third position now.
Let's go on board with Frelick to see what happens. So we can see Frelick defending to the inside. There is actually initial contact on the left-hand side, which is what sends Frelick sideways, and then has to almost try to recover it 3 times as the front end bit and then the rear gave away. It's very awkward losing the car there in turn 4, either when you lose the rear on your own or there is outside assistance. There's the contact that initially sends Stevens around, but if you watch the road, the way it rises and then falls, and it's off camber a little bit as well, where they are on the circuit, so it's really difficult.
And Tom Stevens there all over the back of Carlos Martin, and he's going to get a really good run actually going up the hill. So Stevens gaining and gaining. Martin goes to fend him off. Stevens now has to go to driver's left and try to hold it around the outside, just as he did with Shimon Frelick. But unlike with Shimon, there is no contact, and this time Martin is able to hold him off. And this is the move. This is what we saw for the lead of the race. For second in the race, as Martin gets it up the inside and makes the move stick on Mark Schluter. Through goes Carlos Martin. But he's going to have to worry about Stevens, because Tom's going to the driver's left, to the outside of the corner at the top of the hill, and the curb, oh, it tightens there. It tightens, but Stevens has found the gap, and he's still on the outside line, still on driver's left, has the inside now as they go down the hill, and a really well thought out move, but he's going to have to turn in at some point. Oh, they lean on each other. Yeah, the DRS and the push to pass potentially down the straight, getting closer and closer. Simon Frelick goes for the move and does get through on Schluter, but runs wide. Schluter ducks back underneath him there. Oh my goodness. And Schluter fends him off, and Jarl Tyen now going for it as well, and they're 3 wide going up the hill. Tyen on the right, Frelick in the middle, Schluter on the left. Schluter's going to sweep in. Whoa, and there's a 3-way conflagration. So that's going to be absolute cinema, because he will not be happy about that one. And we're going to see what happens. So he finds one car on his right, Schluter's still on his left. Now at this point, Schluter's got a full car's width ahead of him. And I don't see what Schluter has done wrong there, if anything.
From Tom Stevens all the way to the inside. He knows that Stevens is coming. He knows that Stevens has the DRS and the battery, and that Stevens is surely getting on through unless he can respond on the brakes. No, he cannot. That is Tom Stevens up into second place.
Martin does have an opportunity to come back at Stevens here, though. He's got close enough. He uses the slipstream, uses the push to pass, and he does go back through into second position here. We've seen in the past that there's been team orders between the two THR drivers, but that was only deep into a championship fight, when it looked as if one stood a better chance of winning the championship than the other. The very end of the lap, Loic Mounier is the one driver who's done absolutely nothing wrong today. He's done everything right, and look at the THR still fighting into the final corner. Tyen goes to the outside, takes a look, up in front. Loic Mounier wins for the second race in a row, and what a star we are witnessing here. And who gets third position? And according to the screen, it's Tyen. I didn't see how much, but Tyen gets third on the last lap. This year, though, he has absolutely been the best driver so far, and he deserves to be back in the championship lead. Matching Winnick is P11, then it's Jan Grangfist, who came into today as the championship leader, but really struggled, seemed to get absolutely nowhere. So that was the highlights of the last Grand Prix. I didn't realise we were going straight into that, so that's my bad. But as you could see, the Bahrain Grand Prix, a little bit of a slow burner at times, but with plenty of action sprinkled throughout, just like a peppery seasoning to keep the race spicy and interesting. And of course, culminating in that final corner battle between the two THR drivers that saw Jarl Tyen take third position away from Tom Stevens. And of course, Tom not even present at this round, so unfortunately unable to claim his spot on the podium. But as we were talking about earlier, Toby Davis, his team principal, says that Tom will be back, and will be back strong, winning races as he always does. And I believe him. Tom Stevens is a driver who for years we've said is a dark horse for any championship. A couple of years ago I predicted him for about 2 championships in a row. And it never quite happened for Tom, but a lot of the time not really through his own fault. Sometimes he's been involved in accidents that have been caused by other drivers. Sometimes he just has been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he's always been one of the best drivers on the grid. The trouble is, you have to be pretty much the best driver at every race in order to fight some of these people in GPVWC Super League. People like Jan Grangfist and Loic Mounier, who, yes, they'll have maybe 1 or 2 off races a year, but the rest of the races they'll win or finish second. So that was the highlights of the last Grand Prix. We've seen qualifying as well. Alessandro Maggio will line up on pole position here at Jeddah. And Lorenzo, qualifying here is important because, as you can see by the track map, quite a twisty circuit where there aren't many overtaking opportunities, but you absolutely can overtake here. And I'm imagining that strategy is going to come into play just as it did in Bahrain, as drivers try not to get too held up behind other drivers or get left behind by the pack.
Strategy will most definitely be a crucial factor in play here at Jeddah, especially with, from what we've heard, the hard compound of DARS being quite ineffective for, I mean, anything really around this track. And you mentioned yourself in qualifying, it seems like most drivers will be going for a 2-stop strategy. So it'll be interesting to see who starts on mediums, who starts on softs, and how they choose their tires after that. Will we see soft, mediums, soft, medium, soft? I mean, there's quite a lot of variables that can happen there in strategy. And again, qualifying equally as important as well. It's a quite winding track. There is spots to overtake at, but they're few and far between around Jeddah. So again, it will be interesting to see how everything pans out.
Absolutely. You can see a couple of drivers testing out different tyres out there as well. Those are not necessarily the tyres that they're going to be starting the race on, but it is a good indication of at least what the drivers are talking about. And as you can see, no hard tyres to be seen absolutely anywhere. Well, there is a flying front wing from somewhere. That doesn't appear to be one that's come off of Alessandro Maggio. But anyway... but yeah, hard tyres absolutely nowhere to be seen, and we expected as much. Remember, the top 15 drivers have to use soft tyres at some point in the race, but not necessarily at the start of the race. That's not how the rules work anymore, even though that has been for the last few seasons. One of the talking points of Bahrain as well that we didn't really talk about as much as we should have done is engine life and engine performance. In this round, the main driver who is running a slightly older engine is Carlos Martin. That's been used for one race, as there you see a big crash. But yes, a lot of the drivers who were affected in the last race, such as Valley Esports and Jan Grankvist notably, have brand new, fresh engines for this one, and so should be back up to their normal pace. There are no upgrades to any of these cars just yet. That's something that is hopefully going to come into place soon, although we're still having a few issues getting that up and running for this year. So guys, the warm-up session has come to an end. It's not long now before we get going for the start of this 50-lap race around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. This is Super League, this is Jeddah, and we are preparing for the race. Welcome back, guys. You can see the cars in the pit lane. You'll see them jump onto the track any minute now, and we'll be able to get going for our formation lap. 50 laps of Jeddah. It's the second fewest laps of any Grand Prix on the calendar, due to this being quite a long circuit in terms of distance. It shouldn't be one of the longest Grand Prix, because the average speed here is definitely higher than in places like the Hungaroring or some of the other tracks that we've raced at in the past. But yes, it should be a good an hour and 20 minutes or so, as with most of the other Grand Prix. Away we go on the formation lap now, and we can take a look at the grid and the order that they will line up in. No major grid penalties for this one, so we should be lining up in pretty much the order that we finished qualifying. Alessandro Maggio is P1 alongside Maciej Młynek, and then it's Loic Mounier and Jan Grankvist. Once again this year, it seems like your name has to start with M in order to qualify up the front. Norbert Jakob is P5, then Mark Schluter, Sergio Fletcher and Carlos Martin, the top 8 drivers now, and both True Norths in the top 6. Very good qualifying for them. Yartine is 9th, then it's Alex Laho, Owen Mugorki and Jose Soriano. Jose, who did a very good job in the last Grand Prix and was one of the real breakthrough performers. Xavi Rose P13, then Yannick Bock returning to Super League in P14. Then it's Dylan Fisher and Lucas Murno, so both of the Lunark drivers of Bock and Fisher starting together on the grid. Sven Schubert is P17, then it's Philip Puschke, Shimon Frelich and Mateusz Majka, P20 on his reserve drive, replacing Tom Stevens. Then it's Jokopeka Lalu, Moritz Kropp, Jeffrey Fournier and Tomasz Vok, which takes us down to 24th position. The final spaces on the grid are going to be taken up by Oscar Soltero, Eros Masciuli, Tom van der Voort, and then Juho Soppanen, who starts his first Super League race back in 28th place. And what a place to make your debut, but the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Now, Lorenzo, I'm hoping for a clean one here, but Jeddah really can bite, and I expect that it's at least somewhat going to be a race of attrition today.
I think it might be as well, you know, Caitlin, because again, I mentioned during qualifying, there were quite a lot of points of contention regarding track limits in the other rounds within the career ladder around Jeddah here. I'm curious to see, although I'm hoping that we won't see the exact same thing happening in Super League. I do expect that it won't be as egregious, but there'll still be a couple of small tidbits here and there across the grid. But yeah, I don't know, again, it's going to be a race of attrition, either through driver errors in the manner of spins and crashes and again track limits. We might just see wrong calls regarding strategy. We might just see, again, like we did in Melbourne with Mark Schluter, someone underfueling by accident again. I'm curious to see what happens here around Jeddah.
Mark Schluter, by the way, I've been given a fun fact by Carter McCollman. This is the 4th race in a row, so every race this season, where he started from 6th position. So that just seems to be his starting grid slot. Onto the grid now, go the cars at the back, 28 drivers in Super League in total from 14 different teams, and you can see the red lights at the top, well you will be able to see the red lights at the top of the gantry when they start to come on. When all 5 of those lights go out, we will be underway for 50 laps of racing here in Jeddah, and it's go! Watch for Maggio from the clean side of the grid. He gets going now and will lead into turn 1. Maciej Winnick is going to have to fend off below Munier there, who's also got a good start. There's a yellow flag in the background, so we'll keep our eye out for if everybody still has their front wings. Jan Grankvist there, 4th position, fending off the 2 True North cars who have got away in the same position that they qualified on. It's a relatively short run down to turn 1, so no major surprise that there were no changes in at least the top 6. We look a bit further down now. Alex Lahoe running in 10th position, just ahead of Magorgi and Rose, so Jose Soriano has lost a position in the early stages, and it looks as if at least one of the Nocturnes has dropped back. I think they both dropped back slightly because Dylan Fisher is down in 18th position as we speak. Xavi Rose taking a look right around the outside of Owen Magorgi in front of him, and there you can see Fisher and Maciej Maiko, who's made up 2 places, and Maggio's out! And Alessandro Maggio is out of the race on the first lap. It's showing up as a DNF, and we didn't see what happened, whether it was a disconnection or anything like that, but on the very first lap of the race, the pole sitter is out. Now he's famous for internet disconnections and for issues with the technical side of his rig. We can hopefully see a replay of what's happened here, but I expect that he's had a similar issue. But just as we saw so many times last season, Singapore springs to mind, Monza springs to mind, where he's been leading the race and then something has happened and he's absolutely disappeared from the grid. We're seeing a replay now. He's coming through the middle part of and he disappears. Alessandro Maggio out of the race on the first lap. Lorenzo, what a tragedy.
I mean, again, it is tragedy for Alessandro Maggio, but I think this perfectly sums up his time in Super League so far. Be completely brilliant, almost flawless in sessions like practice and qualifying, and then come race day you can do as much as you can and as best as you can, but in the end it's the internet that gives way to your doom. And again, you have to feel bad at some point for Alessandro Maggio. If you haven't already, then I think this might just completely sway you. But I mean, what else is there to say?
What else is there to say indeed? That is absolutely heartbreaking for a driver who deserves more in GPVWC Super League. We're now watching Jan Grankvist. So the order at the end of the first lap was Winnick, Munier, Grankvist, Jakob and Schluter. Let's not forget that there's still a race going on up in front. You can see, oh yeah, look at that. Everybody from 1st to 9th gaining 1 position exactly, and it doesn't take a genius to work out who that one driver they passed was. Xavi Rose is up 3 at the start. Looks like quite the best starts, at least in the first part of the order. Oscar Soltero is up 5 places there. That's a great start from him. And Moritz Kropp and Shimon Frelich are both up 4. Dylan Fisher and Sven Schubert both losing a couple of places at the start. Although Dylan was as far down as 18th place, so he's gained another place while we weren't looking. So Maciej Winnick continues to lead the race, and I think if anyone was going to put a bet on a driver before the race, Maciej Winnick looked to be in a good position, and we know that he's a very mature, very intelligent driver and tends to do well in situations like this. Loic Mounier behind him always comes to the fore towards the end of the race as well, so you cannot count out Loic Mounier now. And if anyone's going to do something crazy on strategy and make it work, that driver is going to be Jan Grankvist in 3rd position, who we've seen do that so many times. In terms of strategy, Alex Lahoe and Xavi Rose are the only 2 drivers in the top 10 right now on anything other than the medium tyres, so it does seem like mediums are the ones to start on, as we expected. And part of Rose's good start has been due to the soft rubber that he's on. Nobody at all on the hard-tired rubber, and we'll expect to see that continue throughout the course of the race. I'm hearing from David Feidock that Alessandro Maggio's incident was a power cut this time, an extremely poorly timed power cut on the very first lap of the race. But to be honest, I guess that's probably better than getting 45, 50 laps into the race and then having your power cut take place right as you're about to finish. I think that would be way more heartbreaking for me. But to be honest, neither of them is an ideal situation, Lorenzo.
No, not at all. Myself personally, I wouldn't know which would be worse for me, obviously. I mean, having a power cut later on in the race, after everything you worked for to get where you were, and then just have it taken away from yourself. But at the same time, at the beginning of the race, before you can do anything notable, as someone who seems to be trying to do something notable on his debut, Juho Soppinen, he's still down in 26, but he has climbed up now 2 positions, obviously one with Maggio's DNF, and now with a lovely move into turn 1 on Tom van der Voort. The gap to the car in front is a bit bigger now. It is 2 seconds to Thomas Waag in P25. But I'm curious to see how Juho goes on through the rest of the round here.
That's his first GPVWC overtake, so well done for that achievement there for Juho Soppinen. 1 step at a time in your climb up the order. And Juho, a driver who's only ever done 1 super light start, which he didn't finish, going straight into Super League is quite a step up. And to be honest, the fact that he's even close to the pace of the other drivers at this point in time is quite an achievement. Looks as if he's about to get past again, though, potentially. Tom van der Voort has a really good run on him up towards the little flick left. This, I think, probably the most difficult corner on the track in my personal opinion. He's fended it off for now, but there are 2 more DRS zones coming up in quick succession here, and he may be in trouble coming to this bit. Sometimes it's not actually the best idea to go for a move into this final corner, because yes, you get the run and you get the move, but then of course your opponent can slipstream you straight back again on this straight and can potentially use DRS depending on where they were in the detection zone. And one thing I'm very much hoping that we don't see too much of today is DRS chicken, which we saw in Japan, and of course we've seen in the real world in Saudi Arabia in the past, where drivers deliberately hang back in the DRS detection zone to try their best to get the DRS from the car in front, even when they could have gone for the overtake sooner. It's something that's inevitable with DRS the way that it is, but I'm hoping that that's not going to be seen too much today, because as we've seen in the real world at Saudi Arabia, it can cause absolute carnage, Lorenzo.
It is, and it's something that the man we're on board currently with, Alex Lahoe, has done himself in the Formula Sprint 1 round last week here at Jeddah. I recall hearing something in race 2 about a game of DRS chicken between himself and a couple of other drivers, I think Lucas Stalin involved. I'm curious to see whether he goes for that tactic this time around again, or seeing as he started on softs, will he go a bit more aggressive, try and gain as many positions as he can, so that he has an easier time once he gets on the harder compound of tires? Oh well, harder compound is going to be mediums more likely than not, as again, as we've said so many times already, in this broadcast, the hards are a bit useless around Jeddah here. But yeah, I do think that Lahu will not be doing the strategy that he did in Formula Sprint 1, where he'd linger around and stay in DRS and then wait for the drivers in front to waste away at their tyres and try and strike. I think himself now being on the softer compound of tyres in the beginning of the race, he'll be the one on the offensive, Caitlin.
Carlos Martin there, fighting with Xavi Rose, losing a place to Xavi Rose. I think Martin lost a couple of places a minute ago, and yeah, I'm just trying to work out exactly how that's occurred. Carlos was running as high up as 8th position, so he's lost 2 positions, and we saw him off his line. Potentially a big save there from Carlos Martin, but I guess we can stop speculating now because we're about to see a replay. He was actually side by side with Jarl Tyen coming out of the first couple of corners. We got a difficult left-hander here which really should be single file, and he goes wide and runs off the road and then gets passed by both Tyen and Xavi Rose, who goes through at the same time, and Carlos Martin there down into 10th position. You really have to trust your opponents when racing them at Jeddah. Sometimes if someone has their nose where you don't want it, you've either got to turn into the corner or run straight off the road. And if you turn into the corner, even if it should very reasonably be your corner, there's nothing to say that your opponent isn't going to keep their nose stuck in and spin you both around. So a little bit of trust going on between Martin and Tyen there, but Martin's still getting run a little bit out of road. Xavi Rose now going up into 8th position, passing Jarl Tyen there for that place, and Xavi needs every position he can get, having started on those soft tyres and trying to climb up the order. And Jakab's into 3rd. Now when did that happen? So Norbert Jakab is into 3rd position, and that happened about 10 seconds ago, I think. So he slipstreamed his way through, and Norbert Jakab, who only scored his first top 5 in Super League last time he raced here in Japan, and he looks set to battle for the podium, Lorenzo.
And I think it's completely deserved and completely, well, expected from someone like Norbert Jakab. He was an amazing driver last year in Super Lights, obviously. Unfortunate that he couldn't battle for the championship harder. I don't see him battling for the championship this year. Maybe next year or the year after that, I can definitely see it happening. But this year I think he's going to be giving, well, the general public really, quite a lot of performances that, in my opinion, people should be expecting from him, and they are going to be a joy to watch, I think. Not any performance really from Norbert Jakab so far this season, I think, has been quite stellar. Again, you mentioned his first top 5 in Suzuka, and I think there's more where that came from. And I think if he finishes on the podium here today, it won't be his first or last this year.
Yeah, let's not forget that in Australia as well, and look in the background as Mark Schluter goes for a move on Jan Grangqvist, and he's made that move stick as well, covers it off with a little bit of a slide job into turn 1, but as a result he didn't get good traction out of the corner, and Grangqvist goes back through again into 4th position. So a good defensive drive there from Jan Grangqvist to take advantage of Mark Schluter slightly overcooking it. I was going to say about Norbert that in Australia, one of the reasons he was so far back, especially in qualifying, is because he had an accident, but he still came through in the race and would probably have finished well inside the top 10 had he not had that qualifying crash. So we're expecting better things from Norbert Jakab in the past. Oh, little bit of a mistake there from Jan Grangqvist. He got twitchy coming out of the corner, and you can see now he's losing a good half a second to Norbert Jakab in front of him, maybe more like 3 or 4 tenths, but it means that he's once again going to come under pressure from Mark Schluter in the latter stages of this lap. So we'll watch it again, this time from onboard Mark Schluter, who should have his DRS open as we speak, and he's getting closer and closer, and we'll have 2 more attempts with the DRS towards the end of this lap. And for True North, having 2 promising drivers like Jakab and Schluter. Jakab, who's quite a young driver, about 21 years old, and Mark Schluter, who has that experience, who's won Super League races in the past, and who was fighting for a championship a couple of years ago, eventually finishing 3rd in the overall standings. This is the kind of lineup that's going to get them up the order. Now watch as Mark Schluter goes to the inside of Jan Grangqvist, going into turn 1, gets the move done, and makes the corner stick. So Mark Schluter, fantastic move there, and it's True North 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, the guys over at Trunov seem to have figured out something either through upgrades or setup that are giving them the edge. Again, as you mentioned, Jakob and Schluter, absolutely amazing drivers, but I don't think we've seen them this high up together earlier on in this season. So again, they seem to have figured something out that is giving them the edge over the likes of Granqvist and Fletcher, and especially the top guys, as looking down a bit further, Owen McGorgy only in 11th and Shimon Frelich down in P15. So the top esports guys struggling really hard here at Jeddah today.
Yeah, a little bit. Owen McGorgy, who of course won the race on the road in Australia and was then pushed back as a result of an accident that he had on the last lap, and he ended up being penalised for that one. Lost the championship lead, lost the win, and hasn't really had a stellar drive like that since, but running in P11 today. And as for Shimon Frelich in P15, I think he's another driver who's had more pace than he's been able to bring home so far this year. He's been in the points in all 3 races, although none of them any higher than 7th place, which is a bit lower than we might expect from Shimon Frelich, who won his first Super League race at the British Grand Prix last season. We're a fifth of the way into the race already, and look at Alex Laho attacking Sergio Fletcher. Oh, and clonking him into the corner, and around goes Laho. He's definitely going to lose that place, and he loses another one to Xavi Roos now with a little half spin on the exit of the corner, and the driver who still has Danny van der Nieet's helmet and name on the halo, trying to carry that car to new heights, unfortunately making a little bit of an error there and tapping wheels with Sergio Fletcher.
Yeah, from the point of view we saw it in, that just looked like hard racing, as there was yellow flags flashing for a brief second. I don't think anything major has happened, but as we go on board with Alex Laho here, we see Fletcher taking the inside line to defend Laho on the outside, the inside line really for turn 2.
Yeah.
Bit of contact there between Fletcher and Laho though. It looked like Laho had just about enough space, but maybe a bit too much on the throttle, which caused him to go into Fletcher. Or did Fletcher just steer in a bit earlier than... Well, no, it just looked like Laho was the one in front, but it looked like he may have been a bit more on the power, which caused Fletcher, who seemed to be turning in completely normally, to make contact with him, and that unsettled Laho's car.
I initially implied that it was Laho's mistake, but actually watching it from on board, he was on the curb and steering right. There wasn't much more that he could have done there, and you are right, he had his wheels ahead, his front axle ahead. So I think in that one, Laho couldn't really have done much more. Owen McGorgy now going for a move on Carlos Martin, making that move stick up into 10th position. Carlos, one of the few drivers on the grid today with a slightly older engine, but yes, Owen McGorgy up into 10th position as we speak. The brief yellow flag that we saw, we don't see a reason for that. Every driver other than Maggio, who we lost on the first lap, is still running. And if you're superstitious right now, you'll probably be hoping that I'm touching wood, because it's actually been quite a clean race so far, with all 27 drivers being accident-free. We're going to see a replay though. Now keep in mind that I haven't just cursed somebody here. This happened before we were talking. And oh, Jose Soriano. Well, what was that? Because it kind of looked... So he ran wide, and then it changed back on itself. But we're going to see another replay here. Maybe it happened a bit later on in the lap. And yeah, a little bit of a kick of oversteer. I'm very confused as to what we're seeing on our screen right now. But anyway, is Soriano still in that position, potentially? He's 12th, he's 12th, so yeah. Okay, I'm a bit confused as to what we saw there, but that's all right. So Jose Soriano running in 12th position, a little way ahead of Yannick Bock and Lucas Murno, and there's still a bit of a chain of cars down at that part of the order.
There is, but I do think that, as I was going to talk about one overtake that could be possible, another one has happened. Norbert Jakob up into P2.
Oh wow!
Disposing of Meunier quite easily there for turn 1, and now has his sights set on Mlunek as far as it seems.
Yeah, I was not looking at the screen there. I was looking at the YouTube comments, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But Norbert Jakob has indeed got up into second position. They've lost the DRS from Winnick, who leads, so Winnick doing a little bit of a breakaway, but Jakob coming through and seems to be setting off after him. So a tremendous start to the race for Norbert Jakob. In the past, he has been famous for his high-profile mistakes. He's been given some, well, I would say quite mean, quite tongue-in-cheek nicknames, but he takes them on board, like Spinbutt, for example. But this year, I think it's more likely to end up being Winbutt, as Norbert Jakob is through into second position and chasing down the leader. And you can see he's nearly within 0.7 of a second of Maciej Winnick already. And 0.7 of a second, don't forget, is the DRS buffer this year. It's not 1 second like it was last year. You've got to get right up behind the driver in front of you to benefit from the DRS, which is surely what Norbert Jakob is hoping to do by the end of this lap.
It is, but he seems to have lost a bit of time through sector 3 there. The gap was just about 0.7, but now it's grown to 0.9, so Jakob either has taken the final chicane through sector 3 a bit slower than Mlinek, or has lost time somewhere else in the sector, because now the gap has grown to 1.1 seconds. And Meunier seems to be the one gaining time on Jakob, obviously still within DRS, just about, as the gap fluctuates a bit. But yeah, Jakob was gaining time on Mlinek, and then through sector 3 something must have happened which has lost him quite a lot of time, nearly a half a second in fact.
Yes, and Schluter is ahead of Grankvist. I didn't see quite when that was successfully achieved. It was actually a little while ago, about a lap ago now. But yes, Yannick Bock here, P13, is ahead of Lucas Murno, and they were quite close before. And Loic Meunier is back up into second place. Now that's a strange part on the track to make a move. Oh, and Meunier and Jakob lost maybe half a second there, so I think maybe Jakob did make a little error. So Meunier is back up into second place. Carter McColeman reminded me that Norbert himself came up with the Spinbutt nickname, which doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest. So here we see a replay, and you can see that he already has about half a second, whoa, to Meunier behind, and then his car bottoms out on the curb. He tries to minimize the damage by slightly shortcutting the corner, but it doesn't end up costing him, or doesn't end up gaining him an advantage, because Meunier is able to go through into second position anyway, and Jakob has to do that bit all over again. And meanwhile, the driver benefiting from it is Maciej Winnick, who you can see there out in front, who isn't going considerably faster than Meunier or Jakob behind, but is gaining as a result of their battle. I say gaining, more like pulling away. I was also... Yes, of course. Go ahead, Lorenzo.
No, I was going to say that he would be gaining time, as one person who's decided to go in early is Jose Soriano. I do think he was one of the people who started on medium, so it's interesting to see how Jose Soriano has come into the pit lane only 14 laps in. He is going on a new pair of mediums, I think that is. We'll see in a second. I do think he is
this
still
a
on
slow... What's happening here? Something's not going well for Jose Soriano here. His car should have started by now, and he's looking around in the cockpit and nothing appears to be happening. Potentially damage repairs for Jose Soriano. Sometimes you can get the suspension repaired if it's being clonked about, and he rejoins the track. But yeah, very long pit stop there for Jose Soriano, and I think the only way I can explain that is that it was damage repairs. So maybe we have a replay of an incident or something like that. I was going to say it's strange that drivers on medium tyres would be the first to pit. I wouldn't expect that to be the case, and this is not a particularly high tyre wear circuit, so you can wait at least a few more laps than this. But something clearly awry there with Jose Soriano, causing him to pit for a good 20 seconds plus, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it was very weird to see. It may have been the incident where we struggled to see completely in full regarding Soriano a bit early on, a couple of laps ago. Maybe in hitting the curb there through, I think that was turn 6, where he went a bit wide, he may have caused himself some sort of damage that we did not know. But he doesn't appear to be the only one pitting this early, as Xavi Rose, we mentioned the soft runners pitting earlier than the medium runners, and Xavi Rose, the first one on the soft going into the pit lane. Moritz Kropp in the pit lane as well, as is Thomas Schwach in that second row to Formula now.
the Chevy Ross exiting the pits. And I do actually have an apology to make. I was told after the last broadcast that his name is pronounced more like Ross than Rose, which makes a lot of sense, and I've even said it in the past. I remember at one point in the last broadcast making a joke about, you know, I was talking to Ross McIntyre, and then Chevy Ross was on the screen, and, you know, but yeah, somehow we keep calling him Rose, so my apologies there to Chevy Ross. I understand I'm probably still not getting the pronunciation exactly right with the Spanish accent and all of that. And I was actually having quite a good chat with Sergio Fletcher, who's just run wide and over the escape road and maybe under pressure from Alex Laho here. Laho with the DRS and getting closer. Now remember, he may not actually want to go for an overtake into this final corner because it's not the best place to do it. He wants to get that DRS and then set himself up for the exit of this corner. Gets the DRS open and claws himself closer and closer to the back of Sergio Fletcher's car. Fletcher goes very defensive into turn 1. Laho goes to the outside. They bang wheels again. Not for the first time this race, don't forget. And Laho does go ahead. Whoa, they're still going at it. My goodness. And Fletcher's found an overlap. And yeah, Alex Laho does get the move done. And that will have to be settled later on in the race, potentially. But yes, good move there from Alex Laho on Sergio Fletcher. And as I was saying, I was having a good conversation with Sergio about Spanish pronunciations in particular, and things like the name Aaron Vasquez. Obviously, we've been pronouncing it Vasquez, but the first Z or Z in his name should also be pronounced as a kind of like the English TH, making it more like Vasquez. But clearly, it's about training your tongue to do what your mind is thinking as well. So yes, we will continue to work on that. Norbert Jakob here in third position is behind Loic Meunier just again. They're not. Oh yeah, they have actually lost even more time to Matthew Munich since last time we saw, about a second in fact. They're not too far off him in terms of lap time, but now they've lost him and lost the DRS. Every little incident they do puts them further and further away from him. So Munich leads, followed by Meunier and Jakob, then Schluter and Granqvist at this point in time, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it would be in the best interest of, as Jan Granqvist goes into the pit lane, so it seems like in the best interest for the Finnish driver is to get on a new compound of tyre. Now he is on the mediums, and again it's only lap 17 as he goes onto the soft tyre, so it seems like Jan Granqvist will be going with the medium to soft. We'll be curious to see whether he goes for another pair of softs once these wear out, or whether he'll go back onto the mediums for the final stint as he exits the pit lane in P18 right behind Philipp Puschke and right in front of Jeffrey Fournier.
Yeah, there is definitely method to that. Obviously, if you were going to do something like medium, soft, it seems neat and tidy because you're not going from one tyre onto another and then back again. But there is reason to think that if you were going to go medium, soft, you'd shake it up a bit and put the soft stint in the middle, because the middle stint is when you're most likely to find yourself in slower traffic, people that you've pitted into basically, and the soft tyres can help you to get through the pack in that case. So there is definitely method to Jan Granqvist's strategy here. The question is still up in the air as to whether or not he will do another set of soft or another set of mediums towards the end of the race, but considering he's pitted after just 17 laps of the race onto softs, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a set of mediums. There was a move while we were talking as he got past former champion Philipp Puschke there through the middle sector. Two former champions swapping places, that is. And Mark Schluter now pits along with Laho and Fletcher and Tyen, so the pit lane getting relatively busy now, and no surprise to see that the soft tyre runners have mostly pitted by now. We're going to see a replay now, and this is Norbert Jakob once again having a go at Loic Meunier. He slipstreams him down the straight, goes for it, goes to the left. Meunier not covering it off as much as maybe he could. Maybe content just to follow Norbert Jakob for a little bit. So Jakob goes back through into second position now, Lorenzo.
Yeah, relatively easy move. Meunier left quite a lot of room open there. I think that what happened was Meunier realized that the speed Jakob was carrying is greater than the one he could possibly defend against, and just was content, as you said, letting him go by and sticking behind him and following, and hoping possibly that Jakob's speed, with him right behind him, will allow the both of them to catch back up to Mlinek before the three of them pit. Again, it doesn't appear to be working at the moment, as the gap hasn't closed, and it hasn't grown either, it seems. I think it's still around 4 to 4.2 seconds between Mlinek and Jakob in first and second respectively.
Maciej Winnick continuing to lead the race. Jakob second, coming into the pits now, and is followed in by Loic Meunier. Sometimes in battles like this you see drivers boxing opposite each other, meaning if he pits I don't pit, if he doesn't pit I do pit, just to try to get that undercut or overcut and jump ahead of your opponent. At this point in the race I don't think it matters that much whether you're behind somebody or ahead of them, so long as you stick with them, because the DRS, as we've seen so far this year, while it's maybe not quite as powerful as it was last year, is still a powerful tool and is still going to help you along. So Jakob, and they've come out just ahead of Jan Grankvist, very close on the pit exit there, and Grankvist does get left now and goes through on Loic Meunier, and that is a change of position in the net order, as Grankvist has jumped ahead of Loic Meunier, and Meunier still on those cold tyres is under threat from Mark Schluter on pit exit there, but Jakob has fended him off, so Jakob is fifth, but ahead of Grankvist and Meunier in both the race and the net order. Lucas Murno and Yannick Bock and Carlos Martin, of course, are yet to stop. And there's a DNF. Tomasz Vok has become our second retirement, I'm afraid to say, as we saw the yellow flags out on track, and Jukka-Pekka Laulu is in it as well. So Vok and Laulu both retiring at the same time. Whether or not they were involved with each other, I suppose we are about to see. Here is Laulu on pit exit. And we saw an incident on pit exit at the last Grand Prix, so I very much hope, it is going to happen, into the barriers. And that was a case of Lalu exiting the pits, Wok not seeing him, and they could, my goodness, and who was that?
Fournier. That was Jeffrey Fournier coming in. I did see him drop a couple of positions, and I think I saw Juho Soponen dropping a bit as well, and I think that was Jeffrey Fournier completely not expecting. It was a bit of a, yeah.
Well, he'll be out too. Look at that. No steering, no front wheels. That reminds me a lot of his accident at the Australian Grand Prix, where his front wing pinged off and went to space. But yes, unfortunately, Jeffrey Fournier also involved in that, and also very much out of the race. And to be honest, that's the kind of incident where it's no one's fault, really. Obviously, it is the responsibility of the driver exiting the pits to slot into the race cleanly. But in Lalu's case there, I can absolutely see how there was not much more that he could have done about Tomasz Vok coming over. So a very unfortunate situation for all three drivers, and I wouldn't really apportion blame to any of them. Lucas Murno, by the way, leads the race, and that's because Maciej Winnick has been into the pits, as have a couple of other drivers. Carlos Martin pitted, for example, and has come out just behind Owen McGorgy. Those two were fighting before. But yes, Murno getting his time in the sun out there in front, about 3 seconds up the road from Maciej Winnick. Whether or not he officially led a lap, I'm not sure. It depends on who crossed the start-finish line first. Murno, who was one of my drivers of the season last year, despite only doing 4 races. I really thought that as far as super subs go, you couldn't get much better than Lucas Murno. And this year in the Lion GP car, okay, he hasn't absolutely been a front runner, but he's definitely been solid, and I think we can see more top 10 finishes to come from Lucas Murno this year. Into the pits he comes now, and Maciej Winnick will go back through into the lead of the race. There he goes in the bright orange Holland Racing Team car. And behind him, it's very close between Jakob and Meunier once again, and Fletcher now lining up Alex Lahoe. Goes to the outside. Fletcher goes up into 6th place. So Jakob and Meunier are the fight for 2nd. Schluter and Grankvist are the fight for 4th. Fletcher and Lahoe are the fight for 6th, Lorenzo.
And there was a battle for P9 as well between McGorgy and Ross coming into turn 1. McGorgy got the better of Ross. One thing we failed to mention, because we were caught up in the pit lane battle between Jakob and Meunier, was that Top Esports opted for a double stack, so McGorgy and Frelick came in at the same time, and I think it might have cost McGorgy a bit of time because after the pit cycle ended, I think he entered quite high up and then exited the pit lane, sorry, in P13, which is I think 3 positions lower than he was initially. He's climbed back up with the other drivers pitting, but I do think that there might have been something in that pit cycle that might have affected the top esports driver, or they didn't have to wait that long, but it might have still affected one or both of them potentially. Again, McGoy goes into pit lane in P13, but now back up to P9. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem as consequential as it did back then.
Yeah, it was a relatively long stop for McGorgy. I don't think there was any damage repair necessarily, but potentially not requesting the pit lane soon enough for the team to be ready for him, the virtual team. Here's Jan Grangfist on the back of Mark Schluter in the battle for 4th position as we approach the halfway stage of the race. And Grangfist, I mentioned earlier, oh look at that, are those... Okay, I didn't think Winnick was on soft tyres, but maybe he is. I was going to say, Grangfist has got to make advantage of these soft tyres now, but actually, pretty much everybody down to 6th place, well, everybody down to 6th place is on those soft tyres as well. That indicates to me that the soft tyres are better than we thought they were, because I mentioned before that Grangfist was using the soft tyres to get through that traffic that he'd pitted into, but drivers like Maciej Winnick, they weren't expecting traffic, at least not much traffic at all. So I don't think that that's their reasoning for putting on soft tyres. I think potentially this is 2 stints of soft to the end now. Otherwise, I would have expected to see them go onto the medium tyres now. The trouble with Super League is we really do speculate about the tyres and about what the drivers are thinking going onto these sets of tyres. Sometimes we claim that a driver is making a mistake or that they've missed a trick, and then they're like, nope, that was my plan the whole time and it worked out for me. So you never quite know with Super League, but right now these soft tyres do seem to, you know, be viable if nothing more than that. And the top 6 are all on a set of softs, with Alex Lahu, the top driver, on mediums in 7th, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and again, you just brought up Alex Lahu. He was quite regularly fighting people like Sergio Fletcher in his first stint, which was on soft tyres, and he made those softs last, even through battling other drivers. I think he was only lap 19 or 20 where he pitted, so yeah, I think the people who started on mediums might go for a double stint of soft to round out the end of this race, and the people who started on soft, I think if they go on mediums, which most of them have now, I think they will go back for a final stint of soft tyres yet again, so it might be medium soft soft and soft medium soft this race, or at least I would imagine that those would be the most viable strategies for the tyres that the drivers have started on.
That's how we're reading it at this point in time, but we're still not even halfway through the race just yet. Alex Lahu here still going quick on those mediums, maybe a bit too quick there as he runs over the escape road. In the game, there are track limit points that are being added up over time, and the game can automatically assign you a penalty. At least that's how we've done it at races in the past. Yartine here P8, and there was a slight change of position there as Carlos Martin got ahead of Xavi Ross for P10. And yes, that was a change of position that he made on the track just now. Yartine trying to get back at Alex Lahu with the DRS and the slipstream. These cars also have push to pass. It's relatively similar to the real world of Grand Prix racing this year, where the battery regenerates as you go through the race, so you can use up all of your push to pass, but then it kind of regenerates over the next few seconds to minutes. Every time you touch the brakes, for example, it regenerates a little bit, and it means that you have to be a little bit strategic with how you're using it, but also you do get that extra boost when you're trying to overtake somebody on the straights. Doesn't quite work like in the real world of Formula One. We don't have to talk quite so much about clipping or harvesting and qualifying or anything like that. Whether that's for better or worse is up to you, of course. But it's supposed to be about as close as we can get, while also keeping the series driver friendly and competitor friendly as well. Yartayan, they really do run wide over those curbs pretty much every lap, and I'll have to check the driver's briefing notes to find out exactly how the stewards are going to deal with that corner, but they do seem to be going over the curb, not just over the white line, but over the curb pretty much every lap through there. And Lorenzo, I'd be a bit worried about penalties potentially from that, as Yartayan now makes the move on Alex Lahoe with the DRS open.
He does, and again, I mentioned track limits in the lead up to the race itself. We've seen quite a lot of discussions across the other series in the career ladder, FS2 quite a lot more than any other one. There were slight talks in Formula Sprint 1, but not much action. Superleague, I think I saw some talk as well regarding track limits. But again, it seems like the drivers are taking the track limits quite liberally here around Jeddah. And again, they do appear to be the manual track limits for this round, so it will be down to the drivers whether they feel like the track limits used by the drivers they fought impeded them or cost them in any way, shape or form. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how the reports go for this round. But yeah, Yartayan, who we're on board with now, past Alex Lahoe, and now Sergio Fletcher, the man who you said, Caitlin, taught you how to pronounce the Spanish Z as a TH sound, now being chased by Yartayan in the THR.
Exactly right. In terms of track limits, I did just check the event-specific briefing that's put out by the DC every race, and thank you to the DC, Sandeep Singh, and Chris Williamson especially for posting those. But yes, it is automatically generated by the game. So if you, for example, go over the curb and into an area where the racetrack deems itself unacceptable, then you get a penalty point, and that can add up until you end up getting an actual penalty. The trouble is, if the track is really liberal with it, and I think in this case that is the truth, then you can get away with quite a lot. And I mean, I was talking earlier about how in Formula Sprint 2 last year we were running right over the curbs, you know, just having the tiniest an atom of rubber on the curb just to get the absolute maximum out of those track limits, and the game was allowing it. You could get a penalty for track limits if you really abused it, like went way over the curb, but you can pretty much cut the corners and get away with it in this series. And it really is a case of how much practice have you done, and have you figured out where the track deems acceptable and where it deems unacceptable and outside of the limits.
Yeah, obviously quite a handful in regards of track limits for this year. I think at Jeddah it has been the most prevalent issue, unfortunately, the track limits that we're talking about currently, but I don't think it'll be the case for the entire season or for most of the season in that case. I think there's obviously going to be a couple of outliers. Jeddah, Abu Dhabi potentially, as Yartayan disposes of Sergio Fletcher with quite some ease, as Omegorgi gets past Alex Lahoe as well. So those two don't appear to be needing the track limits we're talking about quite as much as one would possibly imagine for whatever reason. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be many issues regarding track limits outside of this round. It's just a matter of, you know, I wouldn't say poor preparation, but just poor anticipation of how willing drivers are to try and gain as much time and speed and everything else on one another, which has caused the track limits to be the way they are, as we can see there, with Omegorgi taking as much as curb as he can through turn 14, I think that was.
We're just over halfway through the race now. Match and Win It continues to lead by 5 and a bit seconds, 5.5 seconds nearly, over Norbert Jakob at this point in time. And he's continuing to slowly eke out that lead. In Super League, it's very rare to see a driver win by anything more than 2 seconds, but Match and Win It seems to be well on course for that today. And Alex Laho's dropping, and I saw a yellow flag. Something's happened there to Alex Laho, and he's lost his rear wing. Laho has had a shunt. He's hit the wall hard. You can see the car crabbing along as he's clearly damaged the suspension. Whether or not there was another driver involved remains to be seen. Whether or not he can get back to the pit lane remains to be seen, because he's creeping along. He's keeping off the racing line, but there are other drivers coming through now, and I think he's just about going to be able to duck into the pits. But that's such a shame, because Laho was setting himself up to finish well inside the top 10, and for Red Archer Virtual Racing Team, who are a team who really need every point that they can get. Yes, they finished an incredible 6th place last time out with Jeffrey Fournier. But other than that, they haven't scored a single point yet this year. And you can see now he clipped the inside barrier. Whoa! And there was nothing he could do at that point. That was all she wrote as he sailed straight to the scene of the accident. Very similar one to the accident Lance Stroll had in, was it 2022 potentially? But yeah, clips the inside wall. Panics. I mean, he might as well panic. He's got absolutely no way of saving that at that point. And into the wall he goes, and you can see, whoa, Yannick Bock flicking up his front wing into the catch fencing there. Thank goodness there are no spectators or anything like that. And Laho is out.
He is, after putting on his Formula Ford cosplay through means completely outside of his will or control. Alex Laho decides to call it quits, and that is, unfortunately, after the opening 4 rounds of the season, Red Archer's 2nd double DNF of the year already. So the Greek outfit are going to be surely, if not by now, by Spang scrambling for as many points as they can be.
Fist.
And Jan Granqvist, who, well, he might be scrambling for points, but he might not be as desperate as Red Archer would be, goes up into P4 quite easily past Mark Schluter, I would say. And I think this benefits him quite greatly with Loic Meunier only down in P3, as there's yellow flags still waving about. And they're cleared quite quickly, so it doesn't appear to be anything important. But yeah, Meunier in 3rd, Granqvist in 4th. I think not by much, but this should bring Granqvist ever so slightly closer to Meunier in the championship standings, at least provisionally.
On Yannick Bock. Yannick Bock, and he spins it.
Ooh.
So that's where the yellow flags came from, as he did that half spin and then rejoined the circuit and carries on going. There's nobody close to him, so he doesn't lose a place from any of that, and yeah, carries on going in the race. But yeah, I was just mentioning Yannick Bock there. Surprisingly hasn't won this Grand Prix before, has Yannick Bock. Actually, that's not surprising at all. I've just checked when the first time we raced at Jeddah was in GPVWC, and it was 2023. Now remember, before this season, Yannick Bock hadn't raced in Super League since 2022. So this is literally the first attempt that he's actually had at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And Xavi Rose is dropping, as there's another yellow flag out there, I'm afraid to say. Xavi Rose lost a place to Dylan Fisher. Still has his wings, keeps it going out of the pits, but definitely lost a place and a few seconds in all of that, whatever it was that happened. But yeah, the only 3 winners of this Grand Prix so far have been Jake Dennehan, Jan Granqvist and Jarl Tyen. So 2 out of 3 on the grid as we speak, and this was actually where Jan Granqvist took his first GPVWC Super League race win. And that's what happened to Xavi Rose, a lazy half spin, and I'm still pronouncing his name incorrectly. Sorry, Xavi Ross.
Yeah, he did well to minimize the damage he could have possibly gotten. I think the only damage he could have gotten from all that happened there was just flat spots to his tires, which at lap 30 out of 50, I think on those softs he could be thinking of a pit stop. Oh no, he's on mediums, sorry. So it could affect him more than it would have anyone else. Obviously the softs are going to be lasting less time than the mediums, so the soft runners might be thinking of pit stops within the next, I would say, 5 to 7 laps maybe, because it's now lap 31. By the time they pit, it would be around lap 36 to 38, and that would leave them around 12 to 14 laps left on the last stint of soft. Xavi Ross, however, he is on mediums, so he's going to be going longer than the soft runners, I would assume, and the flat spots from those pins could cause him to drop down further than just P12. Lucas Murno is quite close. He's only, oh, well, he's gone past him now. As Lucas Murno goes past Xavi Ross, there was yellow flags in sector 3, and I think it was Moritz Kropt who dropped behind Jose Soriano in P20, so something must have happened between those two, or it might have been just another driver error.
Okay, well, we're going to see a replay. Moritz Kropt here, and this is, well, that's where Alex Lahoe had his crash, and it's on the exit of the corner where he overshoots it, whoa, and into the barriers, and he loses his front left wheel there, and you can sometimes creep it back to the pits without a wheel, but I think Moritz is going to be out of the race. He is. So unfortunately, Moritz Kropt becomes another retirement from this this Grand Prix, and we have 22 cars still running. Yannick Bock up into 10th place as we speak now, just on the tail of Carlos Martin. Now, I was going to talk about tyres again, because I swear that a graphic we just saw once told us that Sergio Fletcher was on, yeah, this graphic here. Last time we saw this, before a couple of seconds ago, Sergio Fletcher was on medium tyres, but he hasn't made a pit stop, so I think it's now updated itself. And yes, unbeknownst to us, Xavi Ross was and is the top driver on medium tyres. So that means that soft tyres really are the order of the day. Everybody down to 11th place, everybody down to 12th place is on those soft tyres at the time of speaking, and nearly everybody in the whole field, only Ross, Masculi and Soriano running anything other than the soft tyres. Still no hard tyres seen at any point, but like I said earlier, that is not a surprise at all. We were told at the start of the day that the hard tyres would simply not be viable. And to be honest, at such a grip-limited circuit as the Jeddah Corniche circuit, I'm not surprised whatsoever. Mateusz Majka here, P15, a little further down than he was in the Super Lights race, where he finished P3, but considering he's on a reserve drive today, subbing in for that THR car, and considering that, as far as we're aware, he has a slightly older engine than some of the others, this is not a terrible drive from Majka. If he can bring home a point or a couple of points, then that's better than nothing for sure. And he looks set to at least do that. He has Oscar Soltero on his tail in the Spark racing car. Spark, who are yet to score a point with both cars in any of the races in this season. So Soltero not quite able to bring anything home. You can see the tyre marks from Moritz Kropt's car as they go over them. And Mark Schluter's in the pits now, and this is about, and Fletcher's into the pits too. Now we're about 17 laps from the end of the race, and we saw drivers pitting about 17 laps from the start of the race for their first pit stop. So this very neatly divides the race into chunks of 3. You expect the last stint of the race to be a little bit easier than the other ones, considering the car is lower on fuel, and so it's using up its tyres a little bit less. But if you were going to divide the race up neatly into 3 chunks, this is about the lap that you'd pick to make that final pit stop. So no real surprise there for Sergio Fletcher or Mark Schluter, who have made those stops. And Sven Schubert has also been into the pits as well. Lorenzo, are we expecting to see the leaders do the same thing soon?
I think the leaders might take another 2, at most 3 laps to get into the pit lane. I think I predicted a bit earlier the pit times wrong. I said it would be around laps 36 to 38 when the soft runners would be pitting. And obviously I was quite wrong in that, as the soft runners, it's now lap 32 and 33 when Fletcher and Ross have pitted, as Mark Schluter doesn't appear to be wanting to wait for the pit stops to try and get past. That is Shimon, that is
Micah.
that is Micah.
Oh, Grankfist is dropping.
Oh.
Sorry, there was a yellow flag and Grankfist started dropping. And that was before his pit stop, so I think Grankfist may have made a mistake there, going behind the likes of Tyan and Magorgi. Jakab, Tyan, Magorgi and Grankfist are all in the pits now, but I'm pretty sure that the yellow flag we just saw was courtesy of Jan Grankfist. He's coming up to the final corner now. Now this is the place where we saw Xavi Ross have a bit of a lazy spin a couple of laps ago, and Grankfist does exactly the same thing, maybe grabs a gear that's too low and spins the car around. Has to wait for Tyan to go through before rejoining the road, and then comes straight into the pit lane, which is no real surprise considering he's probably wasted that set of tyres there. So Grankfist making an uncharacteristic mistake, but don't forget he did exactly the same thing 12 months ago when he crashed out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix while leading the championship, and it was one of the reasons that he didn't end up being champion at the end of 2025. So Jeddah, despite being the track where Jan took his first victory, not always a happy hunting ground for him, Lorenzo.
No, it doesn't appear to be that way. Again, it appeared to have been a near mirrored image of the half spin that Xavi Ross had. I think they hit the exact same curb and took the turn and half spin nearly the exact same way. So it does appear like the entry curb into the final turn seems to be catching a lot of people out, especially on a bit more worn tyres. Sergio Fletcher gets past Mateusz Schmeicher in that other THR, and Mike has Jarl Tyan right behind him, so that Grankfist mistake has played quite well into Jarl Tyan's hands, because had Grankfist not made that mistake, then he would be the one behind Micah. But now with Micah being the one in front of Tyan, we see right there they have swapped positions quite easily, and I think that might allow Jarl Tyan to peel away quite Magorgi immediately in front of Mateusz Schmeicher, who is in the pit lane. So I would have imagined that Mateusz Schmeicher, after what happened there, might have gone maybe a lap at most two longer to try and hold back the likes of Magorgi and Grankfist. But it seems he has gone with the original plan and has pitted. But again, it has benefited Jarl Tyan ever so slightly, because that gap between himself and Magorgi now looks a slight bit bigger.
And Jakab has jumped Munier. So Winnick has pitted. That means Yannick Bock is now in the lead of the race. Jakab has actually gained slightly on Maciej Winnick, although Winnick still looks to be in a comfortable position in this race. But Norbert has jumped ahead of Loic Munier in that stage, putting himself net second in the order. So Yannick Bock leads. We expect him to pit probably this lap. He might officially get to lead a lap of the race for the first time in a little while. But yes, so Bock leads. Winnick is second, but officially, in the net order, leads the race. And then it's Jakab ahead of Loic Munier. Sergio Fletcher as well appears to have jumped ahead of Jarl Tyan, so that's a slight change in that last pit window. Yannick Bock does now come into the pits. I don't think he officially led that lap. I think Winnick got him just before the line. Not that it matters too much though, but Maciej Winnick does lead the race yet again, and the gap is just under 7 seconds now to Norbert Jakab behind, when it was just over 8 seconds a couple of laps ago. Winnick leads, Jakab second, Munier third, then Schluter and Fletcher, who of course jumped ahead of Tyan, as I said, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and obviously I think the biggest battle here towards the end of this race, with now it's lap 36 out of 50, I think the biggest battle in the entire race will be this one between Munier and Jakab for P2. Mlinek quite comfortably out in P1, almost, just under 7 seconds ahead of Jakab. So Jakab and Munier will be the main battle here for the rest of the race, but that's not to say there aren't any other battles. There's a bit of a train behind Sergio Fletcher, with everyone down to P8 within 7/10 of one another. So it's Tyan within DRS range of Fletcher, and then Magorgi within DRS range of Tyan, with Grankfist right behind Magorgi as well. Yannick Bock is already pit, so he's 5 seconds behind Grankfist now, but he's got Carlos Martin right behind him, Hungary as well. It's 4/10 between the German and the Spaniard. And then you go Lucas Murno down in P12 in DRS range of Dylan Fisher for 11th. And Oscar Soltero he's still chasing down Szymon Frelick for P14, and Micah is outside of DRS range from the Spaniard, but he's still just over a second behind, and I think that there's going to be quite heavy battles for all of the points remaining positions. I think obviously the biggest one championship wise will be the one for P2, but as we see Yaltine get past Sergio Fletcher, cars wise, amount wise, that's going to be the biggest battle, as McGorgy has been, oh no sorry, I thought McGorgy got past Fletcher for a second, but no, he did not yet.
Here's a replay of what we're about to see. This is Yaltine on Sergio Fletcher as they're fighting over that position, and that will be a relatively straightforward one, I think, down the start-finish straight. Goes through indeed, so Yaltine now up into 5th position. When we come back from the replay, Remco, would it be okay to show the tyres that people are on? Because I'm expecting to see that, wow, an entire grid of softs. Now, let's keep in mind that before it took a couple of laps for the tyre chart to update, but I think that's pretty accurate, and I think pretty much everybody is on the soft tyres at this point in time, which means it's a straight race to the finish line between pretty much everybody. Maciej Winnick, I think, is comfortable up in front. You were right in saying that the top battle is Jakab versus Meunier, and then there's quite a few battles going on further back as well. The one that we're watching is Sergio Fletcher versus Owen McGorgy. I think Fletcher's a driver who qualifies a little bit better than they race just in general. Australia being the real exception to that rule, where they qualified outside of the top 10 and ended up second actually after penalties. McGorgy now goes to the outside. Well, had a think about it. He needed to be even closer to Sergio Fletcher to have oh, and look at this. He does get a good run out of the second corner and gets the move done and weaves. That's interesting. Now, that's usually a message that they're trying to send to another driver, that they're not happy about something that they've done. Maybe McGorgy trying to say that Fletcher's been weaving on the straight or something like that, but we certainly didn't see any of that. It could just be a wiggle of excitement as McGorgy goes through and takes that 6th position. But yes, Owen McGorgy lines the car up on the exit, gets the power down sooner, and uses that overspeed to go through. And there you see the little wiggle of the steering wheel. Sometimes you have to be a little bit careful about that as well, because obviously you don't want to lose control of the car, and we know that they can be a little bit uncontrollable, especially on the straights or when you have DRS open this season. But yes, just over 10 laps to go in this race now, and we have battles for the podium positions. We have battles further down in the points as well. This is Oscar Soltero on the back of Szymon Frelick, Lorenzo.
Yes, and I think Mateusz Schmeichel, as I mentioned, he's not quite in DRS range of Oscar Soltero, or at least wasn't at the time of asking when I brought him up. I don't know whether the situation has changed. It has changed indeed. He is now within DRS range of Oscar Soltero. So again, I mentioned that it's Frelick and Soltero at the moment. That was 2 laps ago now, I think 3 for P14. Micah now is joining that battle for P14, and it would be crucial for THR for him to join it as quick as possible and to try and gain from it, because THR, again, they've won the Teams Championship 3 years running. They would love to get it 4 years in a row and be the first ones in GPVWC history to do it, but they would need points for that to happen, and Mateusz Schmeichel currently outside the points. Any points are going to be crucial for the English outfit, and I think Mateusz Schmeichel knows what his job here is.
Indeed, I'm trying to work out whether THR would keep the lead of the Teams Championship if it stood like this, because there's not much in it between them, Spark and Holland Racing Team. It may even be Holland Racing Team who take the lead if Maciej Winnick is to bring this one home in P1, which I expect that he will, as he has 7 seconds over Norbert Jakab at the front of the field. And there you see him. We haven't really seen him in a while, have we? But yes, Maciej Winnick continuing to lead the race. I was saying earlier, it's rare that a driver wins a Super League Grand Prix by over 2 seconds, especially nowadays. Although Maciej Winnick is looking to at least triple that in this Grand Prix. Carlos Martin now in a fight with Yannick Bock, and they've just got past Juhas Soppinen. Juho Soppanen, who is still running in this Grand Prix, his Super League debut, and if he can bring this one home, then he has something to be proud of, even if he finishes dead last of the drivers who are still running, because he is still running, and this is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, where attrition is one of the key factors. But yes, Carlos Martin and Yannick Bock fighting over P9, a lap ahead of the driver that they've just passed, and they can see just about the likes of Jan Grankvist in the distance. Grankvist, who lost that position to Shimon Fletcher. Sergio Fletcher, I've called him Shimon twice today. Good lord. Sergio Fletcher. And then had that spin, that half spin that cost him that position.
He had, but I did... No, sorry, go ahead, Caitlin.
No, I was just going to say he's getting back on terms with him now, and he's gained about 3/10 in the last lap alone, so carry on, Lorenzo.
Well, I was going to say that from the looks of things, it doesn't look like Grankvist isn't gaining as much time on Fletcher as it might look like. He's just about outside of DRS range, I think he is. He's
Meunier.
Oh!
And that's an interesting one, because Meunier's made the move in the final corner. So can Jakob get him back with the DRS? I think it's quite likely. Meunier has gone through into second position. Jakob has the DRS open. We've got to look forwards because he's going to the right now. Norbert Jakob is going to take second position back, but he's not, because Meunier is still there on the inside. Nearly runs him out of road. Very good defensive driving there from Loic Meunier. All looked to be lost, but I expect he was using push to pass and managed to maintain that second position after passing him into the final corner, an unusual place to pull an overtake here on the Jeddah Corniche circuit, Lorenzo.
Very much so indeed, but it seems to have worked for the Frenchman, and I do wonder now, Mateusz Schmeichel, we talked about him a bit earlier, well I did, about how THI is going to need him to get into those points-paying positions ahead of the Spark driver in Soltero and the top esports driver of Frelick. He looked to have thought of a move there, but he didn't seem to have enough speed to try and get alongside Soltero or Frelick. For a moment from the angle we were looking at it, it looked to have been free wide, but I think what happened was Soltero tried to pull alongside Frelick, which caused Micah to go a bit further to the right and made it look like it was free wide, but in fact it was far from it. And they've kept the positions they were in going into turn 1, and I don't think those positions are going to change any time through this lap. Potentially into turn 1, or Soltero might be close enough for a move on Frelick though.
I think he might be, yeah. Soltero in P15 on the back of Shimon Frelick, and for a driver who's yet to score a point, but who's seeing his teammate winning races and leading the championship, I'm sure that he will feel that this is a position that he thoroughly deserves. Oscar Soltero coming out towards the end of the lap now. Shimon Frelick ahead of him as well, a consistent driver who hasn't yet scored the results that he may perhaps deserve. And then Maciej Majka behind, looking to snap up anything that he can get in his reserve outing in THR. Let's not forget, we've been talking about how it's Juho Soppanen's first race in GPVWC Super League. It's only Mateusz Majka's second race in GPVWC Super League. He made his debut at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year and DNF'd from that one. But yeah, this is only his second outing in GPVWC Super League, and if he's to finish this race, then that's an achievement. If he can finish in the points, then doubly so, Lorenzo, as Sven Schubert loses a couple of places and drops outside of the, or drops down to P19.
And Philip Pushka seems to be losing places. It's Soriano now. There's a freeway battle here for P17, so not points being positions here, but there's a freeway fight for, well, not really best of the rest, but P17, that is quite a big fight we failed to notice up until now. I did see yellow flags flashing. I would have thought there might have been an incident that caused one of Schubert or Pushke to lose the positions that they did, but no, it's a freeway fight for P17, and it looks to be an entertaining one indeed. It's just a shame that there's so many other ones all around the track that we can't quite stick to this one as much as some people would possibly like.
Yeah, it's one of those races where you really don't know where to look, especially considering these drivers are running outside of the points-paying positions. But we don't want to imply that their race is any less important than anybody else's. The second place battle is still relatively close. There's about 7/10 of a second between the two of them now, and let's not forget that's the DRS buffer, 7/10 of a second. Jakob's got to keep his car within that to have a chance of getting back, and they're going nearly 3 wide into the final corner now. Pushke, Soriano, Schubert up in front as well, and these 3 drivers, my goodness, couldn't get much closer than that going into the final corner of this lap. And as I've said before, not the place you really want to go side by side with the driver, because you risk losing that DRS and losing out on the straight. And back onto the straight goes Norbert Jakob, who's going to get himself up alongside Loic Mounier, and that is a very brave manoeuvre there in the sweepers. Norbert Jakob back up into second position, and this battle has been defined by making overtakes in those places you wouldn't quite expect. Here's another one. Loic Mounier round the outside of Norbert Jakob on the straight, gets it done, but once again he's got to head into the final corner, the place where you maybe even and a slide, and a big save from Norbert Jakob, who just catches it before he dumps it into the wall. Really good save from Norbert Jakob, but he's going to lose that DRS from Mounier, Lorenzo.
He is, and I think that means P2 has well and truly slipped away from the Hungarian there. I don't think Mounier will make an equal or greater mistake to what Jakob just had, and I think Mounier now has P2 wrapped up and ready as a gift. Maciej Mlinek out in P1, I don't think he's going to be challenged either. I think Jakob now just needs to keep his head cool and stick it out for the next, 6 laps. And just keep at bay, just try and get it across the line, because P3 would be his best result to date in Super League. And it wouldn't be undeserved P3. Of course he would have loved that P2 because he was challenging for it for so long and so hard. It would have been a deserved P2, but nevertheless, with mistakes like that, you can't really be expecting to get that P2. He will have to settle for P3, or well, he'll have to have it in his mind to get that P3 across the line.
And let's not forget that this would be his first podium in GPVWC Super League, so the fact that he's gathered that up, I think, is more of a relief to him than the disappointment of having made that mistake in the first place. But yes, both True North still going very, very well. 3rd and 4th for Norbert Jakob and Mark Schluter. This would easily be their best result of the season for either of those drivers. Mark Schluter here, who we learnt earlier has started from 6th position 4 races in a row, is running in 4th position later on in the race, and it doesn't take a mathematician to say that means he's gained 2 places. The biggest gainer in this race has been Oscar Soltero through partially surviving the attrition. He's still not quite in the points, having been passed by Mateusz Majka now, and here we see Jan Grankvist, who's lost 4 places, partially as a result of that half spin that we saw before, and partially because this really has not been the best of races anyway. Even if he hadn't had that spin, he would only have been ahead of Fletcher, maybe McGorgy as well, but that would still be lower than we'd expect from him. And whoa, my goodness, 2 drivers running wide and off the road at the final corner. Soltero and Majka in this fight for 15th position. It looked as if they both had a swipe at Frelich at the same time, had the same idea, and ended up in the same place, which is off the road.
Yeah, I would like to take a look at a replay of that, because we only came in, well, almost at the exact end of it. So what happened here was, that's Frelich in front, Majka in 15th, and Soltero trying to go on the inside, so it's Majka in the middle. Soltero overshoots it, but so does Majka. Frelich gets by, and then Majka retakes the position that Soltero gained through going off track, as Majka did, of course, go off track, but Frelich did go back out in front, so he didn't gain anything dubious. As we see from Frelich's on board, they both go off sailing into the runoff into turns 1 and 2, and Frelich just takes back his P14 and runs back away with it.
Majka in the middle, that's a very nearly an American sitcom from the 2000s. But yes, they both ended up just about overshooting the corner, and Frelich was in the right place to snap that back up again. I think Frelich experienced enough to see what was coming from a long way off there. Meanwhile, Maciej Winnick leads the race by nearly 10 seconds up in front as a result of all of this as we go into the final 5 laps of the race. Mounier is still second, Jakob is still third and heading for his first podium. Schluter fourth, Tyen fifth, then McGorgy, Grankvist, Fletcher, Bock and Martin as they stand. Bock and Martin are still fighting. McGorgy is nearly within DRS range of Tyen as well, and there's also a few battles further down the order as well. That one between Soltero, Micah and Frelick looks to right now just be between Micah and Frelick, but it depends on whether Soltero can get back into it or not. And Schubert leads Pushke Soriano very closely as well, just a few seconds, well, about 17 seconds down the road from these guys that we're watching right now. Mateusz Micah running 15th. Remember, points go down to 15th here. It's not like Formula 1 where they go down to 10th place. So Owen McGorgy in 6th place here is well inside of the points and hoping to go even better by passing Jarl Tyen. Maybe close enough this time. I think he's just too far. No, he is close enough. Goes for the move to the inside. Left it quite late in the straight. And, oh, they might hook wheels there. Oh, I think they touched, but look at that. Owen McGorgy gets away with it. Goes through into P5. These were 2 of the 3 drivers involved in that final lap shunt in Australia, Lorenzo.
They were indeed. I remember that shunt quite well, but this was nowhere close to that. There was a bit of wheel rubbing between McGorgy's rear right and Tyen's front left, but it doesn't seem anything consequential came of it. I don't think either of them could have gotten any damage from that, and if they did, then I quite simply do not understand how anymore, because our Factor 2 physics at times are just quite interesting, one could say. But yeah, Jarl Tyen's on board here. We see Frelick in the mirrors. He is well in front coming into turn 1. A bit of wheel rubbing. Tyen on the curb there, but still has just about enough space to get through the turn without having to go off the tarmac, and he might feel a bit hard done by that. But I do think that by the rulebook it all seemed fair and square just about.
They were rubbing wheels for a long time through that, and I think they were very lucky, because in the real world that could very easily have cut down a tyre, but yeah, they've got through it okay. Carlos Martin here, P10 on the back of Yannick Bock. Carlos, who scored a podium last time out and looked in contention for the win, maybe up until the final stint of the race. And with 3 laps to go, he is set to keep himself inside the top 10 at least. Winnick's gap for the lead is now over 10 seconds, so both Holland Racing Team cars going very well indeed, as Philip Pushke continues to push, down in 18th position and just on the back of Sven Schubert, who returns to action after 1 round away. That's one of the strangest DRS zones on the calendar that we're seeing right now, as there's not a single straight bit of road in it, and Pushke takes a look, goes through the final turn on this lap. Hasn't set himself up particularly well. I think Soriano might line him up as well. Jose Soriano, who had that long pit stop earlier that held him up so badly. And they might also go 3 wide, just like we saw earlier on. Pushke to the inside, fends it off. And you really don't want to go 3 wide at Jeddah. I'm surprised that we've seen it as much as we have today. I've seen it twice, but maybe that's twice too many, Lorenzo.
Maybe. Philip Pushke does keep that P18. What it looked like to me from the angles we saw it, we were a bit impeded by the pit wall and everything. But what I think what happened was Soriano tried to go on the outside of Pushke into turn 1, but Schubert was already taking the standard completely normal racing line, and with Schubert being basically planted there, Soriano didn't have much of a gap to try and go into, because Pushke was going a bit to the right, trying to close a space on Soriano and discourage him from a move, which did work, as Pushke has kept that P18, and from one German to another, Mark Schluter, he might look to get on that podium and best his teammate for P3 here, Caitlin. We're just, well, we're entering we're in the final 2 laps now. Next lap will be the final lap. Do you reckon Schluter will try and get past Jakob? Or will Jakob keep that P3 and Schluter will serve as some sort of barrier or buffer between Jakob and the likes of McGorgy and Tyen?
Schluter's got the momentum. A couple of laps ago, he was a second back. He's now just 0.6 of a second back from Norbert Jakob. And considering this isn't a team who are fighting for the team's championship or anything like that just yet, I expect they will be allowed to fight. Mark Schluter, you can't tell him not to fight. He is a true racer through and through, one of the most competitive people that I know. And he's right on the tail of Norbert Jakob now. And of course, if he stays back, he's in danger of being passed by the likes of Owen McGorgy or Jarl Tyen, who are right on his tail as well. Jan Grankvist in P7 got past Sergio Fletcher just a couple of laps ago. Now they're heading towards the final lap of the race. Schluter sets himself up for a really good run out of that corner. Went wide in, tight out, but he's still going to be under pressure from Owen McGorgy here, coming down into turn 1. McGorgy takes a look out of the slipstream. He's too far back to really make that work. Winnick leads by 10 seconds, so we have to be careful not to miss him going across the line. And Yannick Bock takes 8th place now on the final lap of the race on Sergio Fletcher, who immediately comes back at him now into the latter part of the first sector. And Bock is 8th, Fletcher is 9th, Martin is 10th, not too far off of them. And yeah, I'd like to see that battle up. Here we are again. This is the one I was going to mention between the two True North cars and Owen McGorgy for that final spot on the podium. You can see him going through that banked corner midway through the lap, and McGorgy is... I'm not sure he's going to be close enough, actually. I think he's got to be closer than this to set himself up for that run to the line. Jan Grankvist P7 as well, chasing down Tyen, and I'm getting some flashbacks here, seeing McGorgy, Tyen and Grankvist all together on the track, just as they were in Australia. Not that I should really be bringing that up. Oh, wide goes Tyen, but he rejoins the track just in time. Now, as we've been speaking, Maciej Winnick has been getting closer and closer to a historic win here at Jeddah, his first victory of the season. And look at McGorgy. Oh, and he touches with Mark Schluter there for 4th position. It's going to be a charge for the line. Schluter gives him a shove back, says, no way am I letting you have that. And Schluter keeps that 4th position. Maciej Winnick has won the Grand Prix. Munier is 2nd, Jakob 3rd. Schluter does hold on for 4th, and then it's Owen McGorgy, Tyen, Grankvist, Bock, Martin and Fletcher. And we missed Winnick crossing the line, so much was going on behind. But what a fantastic drive we've seen from him. Utter dominance in the end. Yes, he didn't take pole position, so it wasn't quite a lights to flag victory. But with Alessandro Maggio retiring so early on, it seemed that way, as Winnick seemed to have it all his way from the start to the finish. And when you see a driver winning by 10 seconds in Super League, you know that they have pulled out something truly special. Up to the line goes Maciej Winnick. We are going to see him cross the line now. You see him celebrating, weaving back and forward. And I tell you what, I know that Winnick hasn't really featured in this championship so much just yet, with a 10th place, a 9th place, and a 10th place in the championship. But I said before this season started that I thought Winnick would be a contender for not just race wins, but potentially even, you know, top 3 in the championship. And I can still see that happening. Watch this space, Maciej Winnick. What a drive! So, let's take a look at the full finishing order if we can, as we...
If I may just interrupt... Oh, never mind.
Yes, Lorenzo, that's right.
I wanted to interrupt with a question, because the way it looked to me in that final corner battle between Schluter and McGorgy did make contact with Schluter and he was in front, but it looked like... I would like to see his pedal input, because it looked to have let off and let Schluter back in front. So I am curious to see whether I am correct in that assumption or not.
Fair enough, fair enough. We'll have to talk about that later on, potentially even with the stewards. But yes, Maciej Winnick wins, and deservedly so, at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Loic Munier second, he maintains his championship lead, I believe. Norbert Jakob is third, and then it's Mark Schluter fourth. What a drive from both True North Motorsports drivers. That's Norbert Jakob's first podium. Congratulations to him, and also True North's first in Super League. Then it's Owen McGorgy P5, Jarl Tyen P6, Jan Grankvist P7, Yannick Bock, Carlos Martin and Sergio Fletcher rounding out the top 10 as Winnick is going to back the car up towards the pit lane. Dylan Fisher P11, Lucas Murno P12, then Xavi Ross, so Shimon Frelick, Mateusz Majka does get a point, then it's Oscar Soltero, Jose Soriano, Sven Schubert, Philip Pushke and Aris Masciuli with points going down to that 15th place spot. Just about missing out on the top 20 in the end. If we could see the third page of the standings, that's all right. But yeah, just about missing out on that. Juha Sopanen did finish the Grand Prix, so he has that to his name at least. Finished the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and he was ahead of Tom van der Voort at the finish as well. But then we had some DNFs. Moritz Kropp crashed, as did Alex Laho. Fournier, Wook, and Lalu all crashed with each other, and then Alessandro Maggio DNF'd from the lead of the race on the very first lap of the Grand Prix. Absolute tragedy there for Alessandro Maggio, but at least it happened right at the start of the race instead of later on, when I'm sure it would have hurt way more. But yes, a fantastic race there, a great drive from Maciej Winnick, and of course our tradition is that we always speak to the race winner first. So Maciej, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. We're just seeing some replays actually before we come to you of some of the incidents that happened on the last lap. McGorgy and Schluter had a bit of a run to the line there, and I'll agree with Lorenzo. I think he did back off and let Schluter have that one. So good sportsmanship there from Owen McGorgy, who knew that he'd been a little bit too aggressive. But yeah, sorry for being a bit premature with the interview there. But yes, Maciej, what a drive from you. I've been saying the whole way through that we rarely see drivers win Super League races by more than 2 seconds. You've just won one by 10.
Yeah, it's amazing what happened. Car was pretty much perfect. Shame for Alessandro because of this disconnect. But yeah, I just benefited from it, and it was not easy at the beginning when there was Loic and Norbert in my DRS, but when they lost it, I just went and never looked back.
Yep, never looked back at all, and you simply didn't need to. Even when you had when you made the pit stops, you weren't coming out into traffic or anything like that. Was that a case of timing your pit stops, or was it just that you were so far ahead it just worked out that way?
I think it's about being up far ahead, because I could react to others behind. I didn't need to try to cover anyone, and it just so happened that I think most of the grid was on pretty similar strategy, and I guess I was a bit lucky with not hitting any traffic.
Now Maciej, up until this point, your results have read 10th, 9th, 10th in the championship. Those are good results, don't get me wrong. 3 top 10s in a row is not bad whatsoever. But then to go from those positions, 9th and 10th, to a race victory, and a dominant race victory too, I mean, what changed?
Well, what changed? First of all of those top 10s were after penalties. I didn't finish a single race on track inside top 10 so far. But
really,
yeah. But answering your question, I was trying a bit different philosophy with building setup from beginning of the season, but it didn't work quite well, at least in quali, because those were my weak point so far. But in Bahrain, I changed approach a bit. And it already paid off in Bahrain, because even though I finished like 10th after penalties, it was with that engine, so still it was a very good one for me. And Jeddah, I think I just continued with what I had left in Bahrain, and it clicked. I think it's just clicked. And I did a lot of preparation, so I'm happy that hard work pays off.
Yeah, it does indeed, and I'm glad to see you back at the top of the times as well. Maciej, it always feels like we're just waiting for you to have that breakthrough performance in Super League, because you've won races before, but I mean, your last 2 race wins, for example, one of them came after 9 races in a row with no podiums. The other one came after 3 DNFs in a row. I feel like if you could just be a little bit more consistent, you'd be an absolute force to be reckoned with. So how are you going to find that consistency going forwards?
Just try to repeat what I did for Jeddah and hope for the best. But if it doesn't go to the plan, then we'll see each other at like Monza maybe for the interview.
Indeed. But yeah, fantastic drive there. I'm joined for the first time today by Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic. So, Lorenzo, I was wondering if you wanted to jump in with the interview. Did you have any questions for Maciej?
Yeah, I'll ask you just one question, Maciej. Obviously, congratulations on the win today. Absolutely dominant performance, as one has said already. But again, you said yourself, you've not had the greatest 3 rounds in terms of other point scoring positions, not finishing outside, inside the top 10 on track so far. But after this win today, you have now shot up into 4th place in the Drivers' Championship, equal on points in fact with your teammate. And that also means that Holland Racing Team is now top of the team standings. So my question to you is, after Jeddah now, do you think you can keep this sort of form going for the rest of the season? And if not challenge for the title, try and squeak your way into the top 3 or top 5 and potentially get Holland Racing Team a Teams Championship title alongside Carlos?
Yeah, I think it's doable, definitely. We are both hard workers with Carlos, so if everything goes our way, then I think it's perfectly possible for me, maybe, to try and catch up to Loic, but I think it's up to him making mistakes and me performing like I did today. And for constructors, yeah, I think, as I said, if everything goes our way in the races with Carlos, then I think we can do it, because we both work hard to make the car as fast as possible, and I think it just works for us well. In Bahrain he got second. Here today he had a bit weaker engine and he did damage limitation run a bit, but I won. So I guess we'll see what happens, but we will do our best to try and keep the constructors' dream alive, and I'll do my best to keep the drivers' dream alive, drivers' championship dream alive.
Thank you very much, Maciej, and congratulations on a dominant victory.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move along the podium now. Second position was our championship leader, Loic Mounier. Loic, hello.
Hello.
Fantastic. Now, Loic, another second place finish, but you had to fight for that one hard. It was a close race with Norbert and with some other drivers earlier on, but mainly with Norbert. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, not a lot happened. Well, first off, I dedicate the podium to Maggio because he would have been up there. Rest in peace.
Yes.
And yeah, for my race after half a lap, but just I wanted to clear Norbert, but he put up a really good fight, and we ended up being a battle of the whole race. Managing the battery, the strategy was about the same, so it was more skill and car related than anything else. And he made a mistake when I didn't, and I pulled away, and then I got rid of him. But he did a brilliant race.
Yeah, he absolutely did, but you stuck with him for as long as you could. Taking a bit of a step back and looking at the championship as a whole, you're actually now 26 points ahead of anybody else. So we're only 4 rounds into the championship, and you've already got a race win's worth of points under your belt. How do you get such incredible consistency? I mean, your results. You're the only driver to have finished in the top 5 at every race. Grangfus had a P11, Martins had a P12, Winix had 2 P10s, and then there's you at the top of the standings every single race in the top 5.
Really rocket science. I'm just grateful to have a lot of time available for me to get ready for every race, and to be so consistent. You also have to dedicate a lot of time on it. So I think the main strength is prepping the race and being consistent and pushing forward with the team to prepare the races. It's not luck, it's not skill. It's hard work. Those things is hard work.
Now look, moving forwards, we have quite an unusual circuit coming up next on the calendar, the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang. Am I right in remembering that this is a track you're particularly fond of and particularly excited for?
I'm much more excited for Malaysia than Jeddah because we've just finished one of the worst tracks I could ever imagine for the championship. And now we're finally, hopefully, gonna have fun. The mod looks good. There's no illegal overtake problems on pit exits. There's no front wing laying around in the qualifying from walls, so much better prospects. And yeah, looking forward to that one.
I agree with you there. It does look fantastic. Once again, I'm joined for the first time by Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic. Lorenzo, do you have any questions for our championship leader and reigning champion?
Yeah, I'll ask just one again. Salute, Loic. Obviously, you're leading the championship quite earlier this time as opposed to last year in the drivers section. However, in the team section, you are a bit behind on teams like HRT, and I think it's DHR currently in front of you in second place, as you are currently in third. Oh, no, sorry, you are 7 points behind HRT, currently in second place. So, again, you said Jeddah, it wasn't particular to your liking. Do you think that at Sepang, and possibly going forwards, you could jump HRT in the team standings?
Well, it's a team standings, not a driver standings. So whenever we'll be able to unlock something within the team, I see Oscar is doing his best with his very limited time at the moment. And when he'll start getting some better pace, some points, that'll also help me maybe get even better, because we will be able to work with him more consistently. And right now it's not short term. I can say it's gonna take some time, but we can be there at the end.
All right. Well, that's everything from me.
Fantastic, and that's everything that I have for you as well, Loic. So thank you very much, and again, a very good drive, second place.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now here's one that I'm sure people have been waiting for. In third place for the first time in GPVWC Super League was Norbert Jakob. Now, Norbert, first of all, do you hear us okay?
Yes, obviously, yes.
Fantastic. Until literally a couple of minutes ago, your name on Discord read Norbert P5-But. That has now changed to Norbert Podium-But, and I'm sure you're feeling it just as we are for you. Norbert, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been one of my toughest races so far in GPV, but I loved it and enjoyed every moment of it.
Fantastic. So talk us through it. First of all, qualifying, very, very good. You and your teammate Mark right up the head of the field. You were always going to be in for a tough one though, weren't you?
Yeah, so I didn't expect it at all, to be honest, because today I felt like I woke up on the wrong foot, and I practiced like a couple of hours, mainly qualifying before the event, and I couldn't find pace at all. Basically, the lap that I set in the practice session was my personal best on that day, but I could do like 0.8 as well. But I know that my teammates, or like in the group where I work at in Superventure, there were guys who were going way faster than that, so I was a bit concerned how it would turn out. But yeah, I also sandbagged a bit in quali. I messed up my final 2 runs, but in the end I was still very happy that I could get, I think it was a P5 in the quali. And then in the race I just wanted to mainly keep the position. I didn't really expect to climb up the order at all. But then Maggio, of course, disconnected, which is a shame because he was really on to a fantastic victory tonight. And then I think Gronqvist also had some issues, and I could overtake him, and then Loic as well. So I felt really comfortable in the car today, surprisingly. But yeah, in the end, I just lost some focus towards the end. And then I also had Mark out in the end with the battles with some DRS. So it was an amazing teamwork as well. And yeah, overall we are, I think the whole True North Motorsport currently is all over the moon with this result.
Well, I'm not surprised. It was a fantastic result. It was pretty close between you two at the end there. Were you gonna fight?
No, well, basically I asked my engineer, like, do we have any team orders? And he said that, well, technically no. And then a couple of laps later, he asked me, like, can I give Mark DRS because he's in a tough situation? And then it was a no-brainer for me that I would have my teammate out anytime. I just ask one thing, is that he doesn't abuse this trust and he doesn't overtake me, and all parties agreed to it. So yeah, there was no risk in the end for me.
Yeah, that's teamwork. That sounds good to me. You did have a slight error at one point, but a very good save actually. I was holding my breath for a second there.
Yeah, I actually saw myself in the wall already there, but luckily I could save it, and that was the point when I was like, okay, that was enough, no more risk, and just bring it home in P3.
But hey, you did that, so congratulations on your first podium. Oh, before I move on quickly, Lorenzo, we have a brand new podiums finisher in the form of Norbert Jakob here. I was wondering if you had anything to say to him?
I haven't got any questions for Norbert, only a statement. If you keep this going, mate, Palinka on me at GPV Day.
Oh, bro, but for that you need to bring some Palinka, because, you know, I have some, but I don't know if you produce it in Croatia.
Oh, we do. We do.
Okay, then bring it.
Yeah, Palinka challenge at GPV Day, Hungary versus Croatia.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I have one more question. What is Palinka?
It's
alcohol.
Well,
oh, right.
It's a special hard liquor that's produced mainly in Eastern Europe, and it's made of fruits. It looks like water, but it has around 50 to 60% of volume of alcohol in it. So it's quite dangerous.
That's very strong, yeah. But hey, I guess you learn things in GPVWC broadcast. Thank you for that. Yes.
Eastern Europe.
Fair enough.
Adequate for Eastern Europe, you know.
Adequate. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, congratulations, Norbert, and yes,
Thank
well
you
done.
so much.
All right. Now, it wasn't just Norbert Jakob's first podium today. It was also the first podium for his team, True North Motorsports. True North is run by the very charismatic and very likable Carter McColeman, who I have known for a very, very long time. And I have to say, first of all, Carter, do you hear us okay?
Yes, I've got you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Now, Carter, I was going to say, actually, we've known each other since we were like midway through our teens. So to see you form TCS off, go from that to whatever it became next, work your way up all of the ranks in Super League, ending up in Super League itself, and then finally ending up on the podium. I mean, I've made it sound like it's gone all the way, but surely it's just up and up for you from here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. I mean, started back in 2019. So, yeah, it's been great to finally progress into the top tier here and then deliver on track like I know our drivers can do. It definitely feels special.
And the fact that it wasn't just Norbert up there on the podium, but you also had Mark fourth as well, it shows that it's not just one driver carrying the team. You have a true team effort here.
Yeah, it's great to have these two drivers. Today they worked really well together. That last stint, the last few laps, Norbert dropped back to give Mark some DRS to help defend. So really, it was a very solid team effort, and yeah, I'm super happy with how it ended.
Now, I remember, because full disclosure, I used to be part of your team back when it was TCS off. I'm not disclosing that to you, I'm disclosing that to the audience, because I'm sure you already know. But I remember back then you were very focused on the community aspect of the team and building that community. And it was already something very, very special, even all the way back then. What is it like nowadays? Well, what's the atmosphere like in True North, and who have you got working with you?
Yeah, I mean, back then it was a big focus on community as we just continued to try and expand the team. But nowadays, we're a bit smaller now. Kind of mainly, True North is only in GPVWC. Kind of can't seem to leave the league. It's just too good. So and obviously this year we also have Mark into the team, who's new. We had Norbert last year, who's new, so we've had a bit of turnover through the years, but yeah, I mean, we've got our main 2 drivers. We've got Usama helping with strategy, and Victor Bernat for reserve driver. Yeah, honestly, we have such a great team all together here that I don't think it could be much better at the moment.
No, I can absolutely see that. I just wanted to say congratulations. We're going to get Mark Schluter in next as well. The last thing I was going to say about this particular race is it got a little bit tense at the end there with Mark approaching Norbert. We've already spoken to Norbert, and we've heard about the arrangement that came about, where he was going to help Mark with the DRS, and Mark was going to respect that by not overtaking him. But going forward, do you expect to see your guys fighting with each other? And if so, is that going to be tough to manage?
I mean, I think I've instilled it in them fairly hard now that it's a team first mentality. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and yes, we're going to battle on track. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes to these situations where we can both secure a very solid result, or if we can battle and both lose a very solid result, we're going to take the team first option and kind of try and score the most points possible, because at the end of the day, with the way the season started, we just want to recover as many points as possible in the team standings and prepare for a stronger showing at the start of next year, and making sure we have the budget to do so.
Fantastic. Well, we're gonna have to start speeding up because we got at least Mark still to speak to, and potentially somebody else as well. But thank you very much, Carter. It's actually been really good to speak to you again. I'm so sorry that we haven't caught up in so long. But yes, congratulations on your first podium and your team's first podium, and of course to Norbert Jakob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later. All right, so that was Carter McColeman, team leader of True North Motorsport. Also involved in that squad is the fantastic Mark Schluter, former GPVWC Super League race winner, and today 4th place. Mark, hello. How do you do?
I'm good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Mark, a great drive there, very, very close to the podium at the end. Both of your True North Motorsport drivers right up near the pointy end of the field. How does it feel to be back in contention?
I mean, we were pretty much in contention from race 1 onwards, but we're just unlucky. But finally feels good to get rewarded for the effort we put in every time in the group with the practice sessions and stuff. So feels finally good to be rewarded again.
Absolutely, and it's something you've deserved for a long time because you haven't had much good fortune over the last year or so. But yes, a P4 position. What should we expect from the next couple of races from you in particular?
I don't know really. I think we'll have to wait what the others will do, like in upgrades and stuff. I think we will get the first upgrades for the next race, but we'll have to see who has done the best job on that.
Yes, of course, that's something that's been notably absent from GPVWC so far. Do you expect that True North is going to get on top of that?
Well, I hope so, but I think we'll have a good idea on how we want to upgrade this car over the season for now. But for sure, there will still be in-season testing. What we're gonna do in particular. So yeah, I hope we did the right steps for this next race, and hopefully we can fight for a win finally.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us, Mark. I know you were asking for an interview just now. I was wondering, is there anything in particular that you wanted to say while we've still got an audience?
Yeah, I just want to thank again Carter for bringing me in after Edge disbanded at the end of last year. I think we are a good team in the group. The setup efforts we are doing, and also big thank you to Norbert for this race. I think I wouldn't have gotten P4 if he wouldn't have helped me out with the DRS.
Thank you very much, Mark. Very good drive today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we normally only do 4 interviews in a GPVWC interview segment. I'm going to be very sneaky today and try to squeeze in a 6th one because Juho Soppinen has just asked me for an interview. Juho, your first GPVWC Super League race, how did you find it?
I found it very fun, of course, and well, it was a bit of a stressful one. I made a massive mistake at the start. But either way, I made it up. I started from the pit lane after that one crash in the formation lap with Van der Voort. I hope he didn't get too much damage, honestly. And I'm very sorry on behalf of him and also for Drake. But there's been a very, very fun day, a very fun experience. And of course, I hope to get one as well. Again.
That's interesting. We actually didn't see a formation lap incident, so you could have got away with that one. But that's all right. But yeah, we noticed you overtaking Tom van der Voort early on in the race, pulling that move, your first GPVWC overtake, and we did actually catch that one on screen. To be honest, I think it's an achievement just to finish your first Super League race, but you also didn't finish last.
I didn't finish last, and of course Vera here, my girlfriend, is just very very happy for me, just saying I didn't finish last at least. So I mean, sure, I didn't get points, but I didn't finish last. But yeah, today's been a bittersweet day because one of my friends passed away this week. But
wow.
But I will give a message to everyone. For this, if you ever have anything like pressurizing, please do talk, because people are here for you.
Thank you, Juho. I'm very sorry to hear that. Actually, that's well, thank you for sharing that. But yes, congratulations on making your Super League debut today, and I'm glad that you had a good time despite the situation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. With that, we are going to wrap up the broadcast now. I do apologise to Lorenzo and Remco, who I've made wait around for quite a long time there. Lorenzo, this has also been your Super League debut. How have you found it?
I found it quite entertaining, to be fair. There were some great battles. We saw some best super incidents. We saw some quite chaotic incidents. The one between Lalu and Wach, which Fournier was involved in. We saw, again, as I mentioned, some best stupid incidents. The half spin that Granquist had, which, looking at it now, had that not happened, I think he would have finished ahead of Tyen and McGorgy in P5, meaning the gap between himself and Meunier would only be, I think, 24 points, so still within a one race win. So that could be crucial playing into the rest of the season, but we saw a dominant performance in Maciej Mlinek, a new podium sitter in Norbert Jakab, a complete debutant in Juho Soppinen, who didn't set the world alight, but as he said, he finished the race. That's better than 6 other people managed to accomplish, and yeah, overall, I'd say that was a pretty good round.
I would totally agree with that, and less chaotic than we usually see from Jeddah. So well done to the drivers who got to the end of that one. Thank you all very much for watching this broadcast, especially if you stuck around right until the end. I'd also like to thank you, Lorenzo. You've done a good job on your first time commentating Super League alongside me. Thank you as well to Remco de Zeeuw for providing all of the sights and the sounds and the broadcast that you've been watching. And make sure you keep your eyes open for more GPVWC Super League, which will be coming up in the same place, the GPVWC YouTube channel, over the next couple of weeks. But from a very exciting location, Sepang, Malaysia, the first time that GPVWC has been there in some good few years. Until then, good night and take care.